Chapter 640. Chi. Another 10 minutes later, Bailey Ningbing could no longer hold on. Chen Hao, who was still as lively as ever, had his shoulder pierced by a sword light. At the same time, a rune containing the law of sealing covered Bailey Ningbing. Pang! His entire body directly fell from the void and fell onto the ground in a daze, unable to move. Let me go. Bailey Ningbing looked at the descending Chen Hao in horror. Pa! The crisp sound of the slap resounded through the sky. Bailey Ningbing, who was sealed, immediately felt dizzy. If it weren't for her strong physical body and immortal will, her head would have exploded from the slap. What do you want? But it was this slap that made Bailey Ningbing calm down. Her eyes became even colder, staring at Chen Hao with hatred. The fear on her face had already disappeared. She didn't believe that Chen Hao would dare to kill her. As a disciple of the temple, she was protected by the highest temple in the entire vast universe galaxy. She was the future of the human race, the elites of the human race. Besides the temple, no one could and no one dared to dictate their life and death. Killing her was equivalent to suicide. Pa. Unfortunately, the cold Chen Hao's reply was a series of slaps. The strength of each slap was just enough to make her see stars, but not enough to make her faint. She could be sure that this was a complete humiliation, a ravaging. I will not let you go, the humiliation you gave me, one day I will return it 100 times, 1,000 times. Hit me as much as you want. Pa, humiliation. You call this humiliation? Chi. What are you doing? What am I doing? What, are you afraid? Kneel in front of me and beg for forgiveness. Maybe I can consider letting you go. Chi, beast. Chi. Chen Hao's expression was cold, his eyes filled with lust and viciousness. Neither fast nor slow, he violently tore apart Bailey Ningbing's clothes. Even the spirit artifact soft armor was forcefully taken away by Chen Hao without Bailey Ningbing's true essence and mind. Her white and tender flesh was exposed to the light of day. At the same time, one hand was slapping her non-stop. Hurry up, my patience is very limited, Chi. In your dreams. Kill me if you have the guts. Kill you? That's too easy for you, why would I kill you? I will strip you of your clothes. You dare, you humiliate me, the temple will not let you go. To humiliate you? You think I will humiliate you? Even if you raise your butt in front of me, I won't be interested. You think you're pretty? Good figure? Pooey. At most, you're just a man's sex tool. A pity, I'm not a casual person. I have no interest in an unreasonable and self-righteous slut like you. Chi. Chen Hao said he had no interest, but he still slowly tore apart Bailey Ningbing's clothes. You, don't be agitated. TSK, your face is red, your heart is beating faster, your breathing is hurried, why? Do you like the taste of being raped? Or do you like being raped by me? A pity. I can't satisfy you. It's still not too late for you to kneel down and beg for mercy. Otherwise, when I strip you naked, it'll be time for me to parade you around the streets. I'll let millions of cultivators see what's so attractive about you, a moron who thinks that all men in the world should like you and those who don't should die. What? You. I will kill you. Kill you, the temple will not let you go. I'm so scared, Chi. TSK, although I don't like it, your figure is really not bad. I believe many people will like it. I wonder what they'll think when they see you, a disciple of the temple, parading around the streets naked. Don't think I'm joking. There's not much time left. Bailey Ningbing's robes had been completely torn apart. At this moment, only her chest and underwear were left. Her snow-white long legs, flat stomach, slender waist, and her chest heaving up and down due to anger. Although Chen Hao didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that this slut was indeed a good tool for him to vent his lust. Although it was the same as what he saw with his eye, the feeling was completely different. Do it if you dare. You want me to beg for mercy? Dream on. You think I don't dare? Chen Hao raged. If you dare, do it. Everything you've done to me, one day, I'll make you regret it. If not, just kill me and end it all. Fuck. Chi. Chen Hao was completely infuriated by this woman. He directly and savagely split her chest into two from the middle, violently tearing it apart. Following Bailey Ningbing's scream, the woman's hands suddenly covered her bouncing snow-white breasts as she glared at Chen Hao, her eyes filled with venom and boundless hatred. Fuck. Chi. Seeing this, Chen Hao was even angrier. His hands reached for Bailey Ningbing's lower body. With a tearing sound, her underwear was also torn apart. Bailey Ningbing couldn't stop him even if she wanted to. At this moment, she only had the most basic freedom of movement. Bailey Ningbing clenched her teeth so hard that her lips bled. She covered her chest with one hand and held her lower body with the other as she glared at Chen Hao. She didn't even say a word, but her body trembled violently. This clearly told Chen Hao how strong her hatred was. Her eyes were glistening with endless humiliation. Chen Hao, who had been driven mad by this stubborn and extreme woman, looked at the completely naked Bailey Ningbing, who was staring at him like a venomous snake filled with humiliation and hatred. He suddenly felt that he was an idiot. How could he make such an extreme and crazy woman submit? Or was it just a threat? Fuck your mother. For the first time, Chen Hao felt that he had lost his head from anger. That was why he did something so stupid. You've got guts. But only this once. Put away your humiliating and hateful gaze. You'll never be my opponent. Also, I don't think I've done anything to offend you. It's all your nonsense. If you can't recognize this and continue to pester me, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Chi. Rumble. Chen Hao casually undid the restriction on Bailey Ningbing's body. Without another glance, he turned into a ray of light and quickly left. Just you wait. Just you wait. Ah! Bailey Ningbing, who had regained her freedom, jumped up and screamed at the top of her lungs. Chen Hao, who had been sent flying, was speechless. In the end, he suppressed his desire to kill her and quickly left. It wasn't that he wasn't decisive enough, but that he really didn't have a reason to kill Bailey Ningbing. To put it bluntly, no matter how one looked at it, Bailey Ningbing hadn't touched his bottom line. In his eyes, she was just a crazy woman whose thoughts were so extreme that they couldn't be reasoned with. The root cause was that he had refused to replace Dongfang Han as her cultivation partner, and this time, Chen Hao had indeed lost his rationality because of this crazy woman's words and actions. He should have known that such an extreme person would never be intimidated by him. Therefore, he shouldn't have used such a method to intimidate her. Moreover, he really did strip Bailey Ningbing naked. This made Chen Hao, who had calmed down, feel that he had gone too far. No matter how wrong this woman was, no matter how cheap she was, it wasn't to the point where she couldn't be redeemed. Trampling on her was fine, but stripping her naked was still too much. Moreover, Chen Hao wouldn't do as he said and parade her naked in the streets. Damn it, she's already done it. Serves her right. She asked for it. If she doesn't repent, damn it, she definitely won't let it go. Next time. Chen Hao flew quickly, extremely depressed. He should have felt good after trampling on this woman, but now, he felt like he was being trampled on instead. There wasn't the slightest thrill of victory. Chen Hao didn't even know what to do next time. Kill. It wasn't to the extent that if he didn't kill her, he would be pestered. Meeting such a crazy woman was indeed a headache. Ah! Boom boom boom, Bailey Ningbing seemed to have gone crazy. She screamed angrily and attacked crazily, venting the anger and hatred in her heart that was about to explode. Stripped naked. She was stripped naked, but his eyes didn't even look straight at her. What made Bailey Ningbing's thousands of nerves hurt even more was the extremely humiliating words he said, "I'll definitely make you regret it." Definitely. Definitely. Chi. After venting for a full 2 minutes, Bailey Ning Bing turned into a ray of light and left quickly with endless unwillingness and humiliation. Beep beep beep, brother Hao. I just came up. Ha ha ha, what's wrong? 4 hours later, Long Ting, who had just returned to the sacred palace in vast Universe City, received Chen Hao's communication request as soon as she logged into the second world. This kind of situation was rare, especially when they had just contacted each other. Pay attention to Bailey Ning Bing in the future. Don't be followed again, ah. Brother Hao, what do you mean? What do I mean? Girl, when I triggered the heavenly punishment, did you come? Ahem. I just went to take a look. I didn't. Ah, Brother Hao, you said Bailey Ning Bing followed me? Long Ting suddenly realized what Chen Hao meant and frowned in surprise. Yes. She has a saint artifact with concealment and tracking attributes. Be careful in the future. That woman is a lunatic. You. Brother Hao, you saw her. More than saw. If it weren't for the fact that she didn't deserve to die, I would have killed her, ahem. You guys fought. You won. What would happen if I lost? That's true. Brother Hao, if you lost, you would have probably been raped by her. Ha ha ha. Long Ting laughed mockingly. Girl. Alright, I'm going offline. Chen Hao said speechlessly and cut off the communication. Chapter 641. The Earth's celestial stage was a brand new stage, and it was also the stage where Chen Hao felt the smallest improvement after his advancement. The reason was naturally because he had reached the full circle stage. But to ordinary people, this might seem silly and purely a waste of time, but to Chen Hao, it was necessary because of his Tao, his cultivation method. Of course, the most important thing was that he had advanced continuously in the chaotic space. If Chen Hao had not found his own Tao, then his advancement back then would not have been wrong at all. But after finding his Tao, it became spoiling by excessive enthusiasm, and he had no choice but to temper himself in the second world with a pseudo-stage. But, although it was necessary, Chen Hao, who had been full of expectations for divine punishment, did not gain anything, and he was still a little depressed. After stepping into the Earth's celestial stage, the only thing I have improved is the quality and capacity of my true essence. At this moment, Chen Hao had already left Pan Noa City without stopping to rest, and came to a city smaller than Pan Noa City on vast universe star, East Flow City. He sat cross-legged in the largest restaurant in East Flow City, in the most expensive room in the cultivation room, and finally put aside the unhappiness caused by Bailey Ningbing. He calmed his heart and sensed the changes in his body after stepping into the Earth's celestial stage. What made him depressed was that his physical body, soul, state of mind, will, comprehension of the heavenly Tao, and so on, did not seem to have changed after going through divine punishment, and there was basically no difference from when he was in the human celestial stage. The only thing that had improved was the quality and capacity of his true essence. Even little sister Ting knows that I have a reason, and she still calls me an idiot. Damn it, the others definitely think I'm an idiot. Luckily, no one knows who I am. Cough, cough, only that woman knows. But after stepping into the Earth's celestial stage, I can fight steadily and surely. Let's go to the second world and fight 1,000 battles first. Who, hiss. Chi. A spiritual helmet flew out from between Chen Hao's eyebrows and floated in front of him. At the same time, Chen Hao forced a stream of blood essence into it. Clearly, this was an ownerless spiritual realm helmet. For more than a year, Chen Hao would enter the second world with a new identity every once in a while. For any identity, once it caused a sensation in the second world, it would disappear without a trace. For more than a year, that was more than 10 years in the second world. Chen Hao had already used 98 identities, and each identity had become a mystery character in some city of the second world's vast universe star. After stepping into the Earth Immortal Realm and entering East Flow City, Chen Hao naturally had to enter with a new identity. Boom. Name, Cold-Blooded. Cultivators of Vast Universe Stars East Flow City. Wealth card number, ********. Chen Hao skillfully inputted the information he had fabricated. In the past, Chen Hao had racked his brains trying to refine a spirit realm helmet. But after arriving at Vast Universe Star, he discovered that this so-called black market was an existence that everyone knew about and tacitly allowed to exist. Moreover, including the spirit realm helmets, some of them belonged to dead cultivators, and some of them were brand new helmets that had never been used by anyone. These helmets were sold by some planets and forces themselves. All Chen Hao had to do was apply for an anonymous wealth card. The name was random, and the place of origin was based on the location of the spirit realm helmet you first used. After entering the second world, the place you would appear in would be the corresponding city of the second world. Just like when he first entered the second world on Limitless Star belonged to the Asianing planet, and the cultivators of the Asianing planet all corresponded to the Asianing city of the second world. Now, the most powerful planet of the human race, Vast Universe Star, had a corresponding city in the second world. One could imagine how big and powerful Vast Universe Star was. Swish! A white light flashed, and Chen Hao directly appeared in the Asianing planet's East Flow city of the second world. Phew! Although my strength hasn't increased by much, I'm still at the Earth Immortal realm. I can finally challenge an Earth Immortal expert without attracting too much attention. Looking at the endless stream of cultivators around him, Chen Hao quickly changed his appearance and aura. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile as he thought to himself. Originally, when he started to challenge in the arena, especially when he was at the later stage of the human celestial stage, it was difficult to find a challenging opponent, even in the cities of the Vast Universe Star. Moreover, as the number of challenges increased, Chen Hao felt that his combat skills were not perfect yet, and he couldn't find an opponent who could help him hone his skills. Therefore, he had to challenge an Earth Immortal expert who was at a higher stage than him. However, the consequences of doing so were often too eye-catching. After a few challenges, he had to change his identity. Moreover, when he started to use a new identity for the first time, he had to send out many challenge applications, and the stakes had to be set very high. Only then could he possibly pass the application. Now, although his combat strength hadn't increased by much, and only his true core strength had increased, he was at the Earth Immortal realm. At least the challenges had become easier and less eye-catching. Just when Chen Hao released his mind to sense the aura around him, Chen Hao was suddenly stunned. Then, a touch of surprise appeared on his face. I am heaven and earth are me. How could it appear so easily? At this moment, Chen Hao clearly felt that his real body and himself in the second world had once again transcended the constraints of the law of time. They were completely integrated. Since the first time this happened, Chen Hao had been pursuing this state. Although he had succeeded twice, he still didn't have any clues or useful experience. He could only say that it was based on luck. It had to be said that although this state could only appear when he was at the peak of the cultivation stage, it didn't necessarily appear. It could be said that it could only be encountered by chance. This doesn't make sense. Even Chen Hao himself found it hard to believe. Was this real? He had been in the second world for more than 10 years. Even though he had become more and more complete in the worldly immortal realm as time passed, he had only entered this state twice. Moreover, it had appeared when he was meditating in a state of secluded meditation. But now, he hadn't even adjusted his state of mind, and it had appeared just like that. What surprised Chen Hao even more was that he seemed to be able to clearly grasp the mystery of this state. He was sure that even if he exited the second world and entered it again, he could easily integrate with it. What was going on? I am heaven and earth are me. Only when my cultivation stage is at the peak of the cultivation stage can I encounter this state. But I have just stepped into the Earth celestial stage. How could I encounter this state? Moreover, it seems that I have mastered this state of mind. Give it a try. Give it a try. Chen Hao suspected that this feeling was unreal, but it was real. He was a little worried that he wouldn't be able to enter this state if he tried, but that clear feeling of control. Chen Hao couldn't help but want to test it out. Chi! Chen Hao turned into a white light and disappeared in the second world. Chi. Soon after, Chen Hao appeared in the second world again. Moreover, a moment later, the cultivators who passed by saw a guy who was laughing madly at the sky. Ha, 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 good, Tian Fa didn't give me any benefits, but this benefit is more practical than any improvement in other aspects. Ha, 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 Chen Hao was in a good mood. The gloomy feeling of Tian Fa not gaining any improvement was swept away. What did it mean to be able to enter this state at all times? It meant that Chen Hao's cultivation in the second world would be more in sync with reality. As long as he could do it in the second world, his real body would be able to do it with a little practice. This would definitely save a lot of training time. How could Chen Hao not be excited? With only 8 years' time, he would have to fight with an expert at the peak of the heavenly celestial stage. Although Chen Hao was very confident and firmly believed that he could do it, it was still a belief and not certainty. But now, it made his belief even firmer. This was the best gift that God had given him. What he lacked was time. Phew. To be able to enter this state at any time, I would have to spend 4/5 of my training time, but I can definitely reduce it to 1/4. In other words, I only need 1/5 of my training time. Ha, ha, ha. My promotion speed can be increased by 4 times. Even if I spend half of my time sleeping, my promotion speed will be twice as fast as before. Ha, ha, ha. Just wait, 8 years later, it will be the time for me to seek justice. The peak of the heavenly celestial stage. I want to see who is the one who is courting death. Ah. Chi. Even as Chen Hao's excitement grew, and he thought about how he would get justice 8 years later, and how he would be reunited with his women, his true self suddenly exploded with power. He once again transformed into a beam of white light that vanished from the second world. Boundless desire, like a raging fire, was 10 times, 100 times more intense than the previous explosion. The medicinal power of the 1E Nirvana pill. During this 1.5 years, perhaps it was because the pressure on Chen Hao was too great that he'd never aroused any thoughts of lust, causing him to only endure the baptism of the flames of desire burning his body and burning his soul. Even though it was unbearable, he still restrained himself. Long Ting, on the other hand, had already taken the second pill that contained Chen Hao's blood essence, which was the 2-Yang Nirvana pill. This was something that Chen Hao was very proud of, and Long Ting was very depressed. And now, perhaps it was because Chen Hao suddenly felt relaxed, or perhaps it was because he thought of reuniting with the girls and the exhilaration of being able to hold his head high, Chen Hao finally erupted again. Moreover, it was 10 times, 100 times more intense than the previous explosion. Chen Hao's mind was instantly filled with boundless desire. His body and soul were burning, and his mind was filled with Long Ting. Moreover, the degree of temptation increased by 100, 1,000 times. Roar. Roar. Chen Hao's exposed skin turned as red as blood. His originally clear eyes turned blood red at this moment, and a low roar filled with wildness and desire erupted uncontrollably from his roar. Endure. 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 In the depths of his soul, Chen Hao roared crazily. He desperately resisted the pain of burning desire and held on to his last bit of consciousness. Chapter 642. Caw. The vermilion bird let out a cry and flew out from between Chen Hao's eyebrows. It held the jade bottle with the second pill in its mouth and appeared in front of Chen Hao. Then, it quickly hid in a corner. Its task was very simple. If Chen Hao could not bear the double pain of being burned by the flames of desire and being burned by the spirit and fell into a state where he lost all reason, it would be the moment it took out the second pill. It did not need to care about anything else. It only needed to take out the pill, and the pill that contained Long Ting's blood essence would be taken by Chen Hao as Long Ting and be directly absorbed. This was also something that Chen Hao had arranged long ago. Because, in order to train oneself to the greatest extent, one had to break through one's limits. But where one's limits were, it was very difficult to accurately grasp, and even more difficult to be stuck at the right point. Once one lost control, one would directly lose all reason. When one had reason, it meant that one had not reached the limit. If one relied solely on oneself, how could one grasp it? It was precisely because of this that Qin Hao handed it over to the vermilion bird and let it act the moment he collapsed. This way, it would be much more accurate. In fact, only a perverted fellow like Qin Hao would choose such a perverted method of destroying oneself and squeezing out every bit of potential. This kind of double pain of being burned by the flames of desire and being burned by the flames of desire was basically unbearable when one still had reason, not to mention when one had completely lost all reason. Long Ting would definitely not do this, and would not be able to bear it. Chi chi chi. Roar. Pang. Rumble, invisible and untouchable, but burning fiercely, the flames of desire that almost made Qin Hao explode, filled every nerve and every cell in Qin Hao's body. The low roar, full of wildness and primitive calling, became louder and louder. The uncontrollable surge of inner yuan even directly shook the clothes on his body into powder, and he became naked. Valiant, ferocious, exuding an endless masculine aura, in Qin Hao's mind, Long Ting, who had a graceful and beautiful figure to begin with, became even more enchanting. Following Qin Hao's fantasies, she posed in all sorts of seductive postures. This made Qin Hao, who still maintained a trace of rationality, unable to control his body and made all sorts of gestures that symbolized the might of a man, even though he knew that everything was just an illusion, a fleeting cloud, and a figment of his imagination. The vermilion bird, the ancient divine beast that had reconstructed its golden body, was dumbfounded as it watched from the side. Even though it did not have the emotions and desires of a human, the crazy Qin Hao still made it think of how Long Ting would be ravaged by Qin Hao if she was here. I've sinned, I've sinned. How could I make wild guesses about Master and Matriarch's ugly behavior? Fortunately, Master doesn't have the time to pay attention to my thoughts right now. Phew, the vermilion bird spat out a mouthful of mystic flame and heaved a long sigh of relief. She immediately focused her mind and stopped looking, listening, and thinking. She only left a strand of divine sense to sense Qin Hao's aura. Time passed minute by minute, second by second. Qin Hao was like a wild beast that had gone mad as he madly danced about in the cultivation room. His entire body was completely red, but it was definitely not the red color of being tempered by the profound fire. Instead, it was the red color of being tempered by the boiling blood. It almost caused Qin Hao's skin to bleed, and his soul was even more so being burned and tempered by the raging flames of lust. The double pain that Qin Hao, who maintained a trace of obsession and reason, endured became more and more terrifying. But this kind of pain was different from ordinary pain. It could not be described with words. The only thing that could be done was to endure, endure, endure. Finally, after another 4 hours, the medicinal effect that was like a volcanic eruption finally began to weaken and fade away. All kinds of illusions disappeared, and the flames of desire subsided, and Qin Hao's body that had almost turned into soldering iron also began to gradually return to normal. His eyes gradually became clear, his soul gradually became clear, and his reason gradually recovered, accompanied by a kind of sweet dew nourishing the body and the soul. Qin Hao gasped for breath. One of his limbs was facing the sky, and his 4 limbs were spread out as he lay on his back. Furthermore, the limb that was facing the sky gradually stopped beating. The tide receded, and his body became soft, his essence, qi, spirit, and true yuan had been completely burned away. But at this moment, Qin Hao could clearly feel that his soul, body, mind, and will seemed to have undergone a baptism of heaven's punishment. And it was not the baptism of heaven's punishment that did not have any effect. There was an obvious improvement, becoming more condensed and pure. Phew! I've endured it. The outbreak this time is 100 times stronger than the last time. If it was just a little bit stronger, I'm afraid I would have completely lost my reason, and would not be able to endure it. But, the benefits of this burning body and burning spirit, the effect is actually so good. Qin Hao felt the changes in his body, and said excitedly in his heart. Voila, the best quality spirit spring water floated out. Qin Hao directly immersed himself in it, and began to recover. However, Qin Hao did not take the initiative to refine himself. Instead, he bathed in it, and quietly enjoyed the comfort of natural recovery. Ever since the last time in the chaotic space, when he truly enjoyed the benefits of tension and relaxation, no matter how nervous Chen Hao was, he would also deliberately relax himself for a certain period of time. And right now, he was going to sleep comfortably in the spirit spring. He did not think of anything, did nothing, and truly relaxed himself. Originally, he thought that after this outbreak, Chen Hao would be able to endure for a long period of time, and would not have an outbreak. But what Chen Hao did not expect was that in the following 3 days, he would have 2 consecutive outbursts, and each time was more intense than the previous one. The duration was also longer, but the tempering of his body seemed to have reached its saturation point, and the effect became negligible. This made Chen Hao understand that the effect of the first pill had already reached its saturation point. If he did not swallow the second pill, the frequency of his outbursts would increase, but it would not have much effect. Thus, Chen Hao did not hesitate and directly swallowed the second pill. After swallowing the second pill, Chen Hao naturally experienced the first baptism of the medicinal effect. Then, he finally returned to normal, and did not have any more outbursts. Chen Hao finally once again immersed himself in cultivation. In the real world, 2 months later. The second world, East Flow City Arena, Earth's celestial stage area. Cold-blooded. 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 Countless cultivators gathered around an arena, and there were even more cultivators waving their arms and shouting, cold-blooded. The crowd was stirred up. For those who did not know the truth, when they heard these shouts, they thought that they were cursing someone. However, the expressions of the crowd clearly did not seem like they were cursing someone. Especially when they looked at the central arena, their eyes were filled with the light of worship. Cold-blooded. This was a person's name. In a short 2 months, which was less than 2 years in the second world, the name of this person had shaken the East Flow City Arena. Cold-blooded. Just like his name, he was cold-blooded and merciless. In the second world, for nearly 2 years, he would appear in the arena every day. Moreover, after 10 matches, he would directly leave. No one knew his true appearance. From start to finish, he wore a black robe and a black bamboo hat. Even in battle, no one had ever been able to take off his bamboo hat. And no one had been able to lift his mysterious veil. Everyone could only judge from his aura that he was not too old. In the world of cultivation, they could only call him a youth. At the start, not many people paid attention to him. As his perfect victory record increased by 10 points every day, as well as all the cultivators that had fought with him and those that had watched him fight, the name of cold-blooded began to spread throughout the arena. And today, it had reached an unprecedented peak. Because today he was challenging cold-blooded's opponent, because today's battle was so close, and because, to challenge cold-blooded, in front of the tens of thousands of cultivators of East Flow City, he had just said these words. I don't know what you look like, I don't know your true identity, and I certainly don't know your past, but I know that you are the one I have been waiting for. Cold-blooded, I want to be your Tao companion, is that possible? Cold-blooded, I want to be your Tao companion, is that possible? To any young disciple of East Flow City, these words were like heavenly music to their ears. They directly ignited the entire arena. If any of the youths present were to be cold-blooded, they would agree without hesitation, without any conditions or reasons. This was because the one who said these words was the most talented young girl of East Flow City in the last 1,000 years. Her appearance wasn't enough to cause the downfall of nations, but under the halo of the most talented young girl, she possessed a charm that no man could resist. But now, the idol in everyone's hearts, the goddess, had actually confessed in front of tens of thousands of cultivators. This mysterious youth was so mysterious that no one knew anything about him, they hadn't even heard his voice before. He was like a perfect fighting machine. 10 matches a day, not even thunder could move him. If he came, he would fight, and if he finished, he would leave. Countless people had tried to follow him, wanting to understand him, but no one had succeeded. If it wasn't because they couldn't catch his aura, then he would directly log off. At the start, after the vast majority of young cultivators heard their goddess confess in front of everyone, they were stunned, disappointed, and hesitant. But afterwards, when they thought of their own conditions and saw the arrogant and indifferent, cold-blooded, as well as the nervous and expectant goddess looking at him, someone finally took the lead and shouted out, "Cold-blooded. How could their goddess be rejected? And in a situation where she had confessed in front of everyone? How could their goddess be someone they were worthy of?" Perhaps, only the mysterious cold-blooded, who had never tasted defeat, who even their goddess couldn't defeat, was worthy of their goddess. Some people even suspected that their goddess already knew the identity of this mysterious cold-blooded. But no matter what, at this moment, they didn't want their goddess to be rejected. They hoped that cold-blooded would respond. The union of two peak geniuses was undoubtedly the most perfect. Cold-blooded. 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 The shouts became louder and louder. The atmosphere became more and more tense. On one side was their goddess's expectant and nervous gaze, and on the other side was the mysterious cold-blooded hidden in his black bamboo hat. No one could even tell what kind of expression cold-blooded had at this moment. Chapter 643. The one you are waiting for is a genius whose combat strength and age match yours, not me. Goodbye. Hiss. There was no clear victor, but the mysterious cold-blooded turned into a beam of white light and vanished from the arena. His battle record was fixed at 5,999 wins, 0 draws, 1 loss. All the clamor disappeared, and everyone's expression was one of astonishment. They had finally heard the mysterious cold-blooded voice, but they never imagined that his voice would be so old. Although it was obviously a fake voice, everyone believed that in the face of a goddess confession, no young man would deliberately pretend to be old. Could it be that the aura of life emitted from his body had been a disguise from the very beginning? This was the thought of the vast majority of spectators. After all, the goddess was destined to become a disciple of vast universe temple this year. Who would have the courage to refuse the goddess confession? Unless there was a reason he couldn't refuse. And the great difference in age was one of those reasons. If he wasn't a young man, then no matter how strong he was, his potential was still lacking. I am waiting for a genius whose combat strength and age match mine, is that right? The goddess stared in a daze at the direction cold-blooded had vanished, muttering to herself. After a full half-minute of silence, a smile appeared on her face. Perhaps, but I am really attracted to you. Even though your voice is beyond my expectations, you are a good person, Uncle Schwa. The goddess faintly smiled at the audience. She didn't feel any disappointment or heartache from being rejected. Then, she directly vanished from the arena. She had no idea about the other party's situation. Whether he was old or young, handsome or ugly, whether his background was good or bad, she had no idea at all. The only thing she knew was that this person's combat talent was extremely strong. And what attracted her the most was the mysterious aura on his body, or rather, the cold aura. In truth, she had already been observing him for a long time. It was only today that she came out to battle. In the process of battle, that feeling of being able to fight to her heart's content had left her excited. It had also caused her to feel a sense of appreciation for him. In particular, beneath his veil, the occasional flash of light in his eyes made her believe that this was a person with a story, a person with talent, and a story behind him. Otherwise, why would he appear for so long without saying a single word? Otherwise, why would he conceal his identity when he could clearly earn a great deal of destiny? A moment of curiosity and a moment of impulse made her muster up the courage to say something she had never thought of before the challenge. He, who never spoke, rejected her but replied. He used an old voice, a fake but real old voice to reject her. It was a short sentence, but it touched her heart. Yes, the person she was waiting for might really be like what Ling Shui said. But she also knew that if Ling Shui accepted her confession, she would not go back on her words. Of course, the premise was that Ling Shui was not old. As for the reason why she said, "You're a good person, uncle," it was because if the other party disguised himself as a young man, he would agree to her request. If he dated her, what could she do? She knew nothing about him. It was just a moment of curiosity, impulse, and intuition that made her confess in public. It's time to leave, Chin Hao, who was called Uncle by the #1 genius of East Flow City, muttered to himself as he left the second world. If he knew that he was called Uncle, he wouldn't know whether to laugh or cry. Of course, to him, this sort of matter was already enough to keep him calm. Let alone the current mysterious him, even Big Brother Ugly in the past had encountered many confessions. Although the vast majority of those confessions were existences that made one's balls ache, there was no lack of beautiful women. Of course, this was only relative to Big Brother Ugly. They could only be considered flowers on the level of cow dung, but at the very least, this proved that as long as a man had talent, he would never lack women. For over a year, Chin Hao had changed places every time he fought. Every time he left, it was because he had no other choice. Keeping a low profile, now, in order to peacefully cultivate, he had to keep a low profile. This was a fake identity to begin with. If he caused too much of a stir and attracted the attention of high-level figures or peak influences, that would be troublesome. I've gone a bit too far this time, damn it. Chin Hao originally wanted to fight until he reached 8,000 matches before leaving. But, he never imagined that he would attract the #1 genius of East Flow City. This young girl was regarded as a goddess by countless young disciples. Chin Hao had long since heard of her. Her talent and combat strength were absolutely astonishing. And after this battle, even though it was only on the arena stage of the Second World Arena, Chin Hao was certain that this young girl would be able to pass Vast Universe Temple's assessment this year. Originally, when Chin Hao saw this young girl request to challenge him, he had been a little excited and expectant. After all, to be able to fight with such a genius would definitely be a great tempering for him. Moreover, he had already decided that this battle was only to hone his combat skills. In the end, he would choose to lose to her. Otherwise, it would be far too shocking. But, he never imagined that before the battle was over, this young girl would make an earth-shattering confession of love to him. This was far more astonishing than any number of consecutive victories he had. After consolidating these 6,000 matches, I'll begin my adventure. The confession of East Flow City's goddess, besides forcing Chin Hao to leave, didn't leave behind any ripples in his heart. Love wasn't something that could be spoken of so easily. In particular, to someone like him who had already matured, had a great fortune in love, and had a great deal of experience, there really wasn't anything to care about. In fact, he didn't even feel a little bit of joy. He slowly closed his eyes and immersed himself in the memories, feelings, and comprehensions of the 6,000 battles he had experienced in the past 600 days in the Second World. This was a summation that he had to make every time he fought for a long period of time. Learning and practicing, this was a joyous experience. The road of cultivation, in particular Chin Hao's great Tao, was even more so. The road he wanted to walk was a road that was different from the 3,000 great Taos. It was a road that no one had ever walked before. The reason he had to experience countless battles and gain insights was because he wanted to learn from others. But, the true reason was that Chin Hao wanted to find what was most suitable for him, what was most compatible with his Tao. This was a road that was destined to be difficult. He needed to constantly try and fumble his way forward. Chin Hao believed that once he truly grew up, he would soar into the heavens and shake the world with his name. This wasn't a name brought about by potential, but by true strength, the strength of a powerhouse. Half a month after Chin Hao immersed himself in his cultivation, within the entire Second World, all of the top Earth Celestial Realm disciples of the top sects in the cities received a summons from their sects at almost the same time. At the same time, the top Earth Celestial Realm disciples that were adventuring in the real world also sensed the vibration of their sect tokens. All of the disciples that received this news were startled and immediately revealed looks of excitement. Those that were in the Second World directly withdrew from the Second World. No matter where they were, they all returned to their sects as quickly as possible. Those that received the message from their sect tokens in the real world also did the same. Similarly, in the vast universe temple, which symbolized the gathering of the most talented disciples in the vast universe galaxy, all of the disciples at the Earth's celestial stage received this news 2 hours in advance. This news spread from the top sects to the second-rate and third-rate sects in less than a day, causing a sensation in the entire vast universe galaxy. However, the most excited ones were the masters of the Earth's celestial stage, especially those who had stepped into the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage for many years but still couldn't comprehend the barrier. It seemed that they were destined to reach the end of their lives. They were extremely excited and started to prepare for the upcoming big opportunity with their fastest speed. Buzz! Celestial Master Qin Yang summons. On the second day after the news was spread from the headquarters of the Human Alliance on the vast universe star, in the Wuji Celestial Palace, Yunmei Hall, which was the first hall of the Wuji Celestial Palace after the merger of Han Mei Hall and Yunwei Hall, Han Mei and Yunwei, who were sitting cross-legged in a cultivation room, received the summons from the palace master of the Wuji Celestial Palace. The summons didn't explain the reason. It just informed them to go to Spirit City as soon as possible. Hiss! Hiss! Celestial Master Han Mei and Celestial Master Yunwei stepped out of the cultivation room and gathered together. Han Mei, could it be, there's bad news again? I don't think so. Let's go and take a look first. Okay. Celestial Master Han Mei and Celestial Master Yunwei seemed to have lost their former glory in just 2 years. Their sideburns were graying. Although their appearances didn't change much, once this aging aura appeared, everyone knew what it meant to cultivators. This situation shouldn't have happened. After all, they still had a long lifespan. Moreover, they were considered top geniuses on the Wuji Celestial Palace. Moreover, it had only been 2 years. The aging aura had appeared a little too quickly. However, the higher-ups of the Wuji Celestial Palace knew what was going on. It was because of Chen Hao. It was because of the terrible 10 years promise. Since Chen Hao's rise, it could be said that he was the true pillar of support for Celestial Master Han Mei and Celestial Master Yunwei. It wasn't because they wanted to get something from Chen Hao, but because they were connected by fate. But now, let alone the two of them, the entire Yunmei Palace and even the entire Wuji Celestial Palace had fallen into a very bad situation. Although there wasn't any danger of annihilation, the Wuji Celestial Palace was showing signs of unstoppable decline. In fact, it wasn't just the Wuji Celestial Palace. Even the Wuji Demon Palace was facing the same situation. The entire Wuji Celestial Palace had become the sole ruler of the Wuji Celestial Palace. This was the human heart. The palace master of the Wuji Celestial Palace, Guan Nan Chao, was an existence that was second only to the Wuji Celestial Palace. Moreover, this was only on the surface. In fact, even Lu Qingyang, the temporary ruler of the Wuji Celestial Palace, obeyed him. More importantly, Bailey Ningbing's rise had reached a point where everyone on the Wuji Celestial Palace looked up to her. What was a sacred palace disciple? It was a height that even the old ancestor of the Wuji Celestial Palace had never reached. Chapter 644. Guan Nan Chao and Lu Qingyang didn't need to do anything at all, let alone suppress them. In fact, after Guan Nan Chao and Lu Qingyang took control of Limitless Star, they gave Limitless Demon Palace some obvious preferential treatment at the beginning, but for some unknown reason, in less than 2 months, they cancelled all the preferential treatment and treated all the cultivators of Limitless Star equally. Moreover, in the past 2 years, they had never suppressed Wuji Immortal Palace and even took care of them slightly. But even so, Wuji Demon Palace naturally rose in strength. The heart of the people was the source of the gathering of providence. All of this originally belonged to Limitless Immortal Palace, and even more so, to Yunmei Hall. But now, because of Chen Hao's promise to fight in 10 years, because of Chen Hao's disappearance, and also because Qin Shui and the other women who were once admired and worshipped by everyone were imprisoned, they no longer existed. Even Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yunwei were unable to recover from the setback because of this incident. All their hopes were pinned on Chen Hao, Qin Shui, and the other women. But now, Feeling uneasy, the two of them quickly rushed to Spirit City. They were afraid of hearing any unfavorable news, especially since Lu Qingyang was the one who summoned them this time. This made them very uneasy. Lu Qingyang was the temporary ruler of Wuji Star. Could it be that something big happened? The two of them arrived at Spirit City at the fastest speed and directly entered the second world. They spent immortal meta crystals and took the teleportation array directly to Wuji Star's station. Han Mei, Yun Wei, quickly go to the main hall. Senior Immortal Qin Yang and Senior Immortal Nan Chao are distributing. When Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei arrived at the gate of Wuji Star's station, the two Earth's celestial stage old men guarding the gate said with a smile. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. They didn't expect any good news, but from the words of the two old men, it shouldn't be bad news. What distribution? You'll know when you go in. This time, the two of you will be heavily rewarded. An old man guarding the gate said. Obviously, they were familiar with Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei. Moreover, they looked at the two of them with envy. This made the two of them very puzzled. Senior Immortal Qin Yang, Senior Immortal Nan Chao. When the two of them entered the main hall, their expressions were calm as they bowed respectfully. Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei didn't have a good impression of these two heavenly venerables because they more or less knew the situation from Qin Hao's eldest senior brother, Heavenly Venerable Gu Qin. Although they weren't very clear, they knew what they had done to Qin Hao. However, the situation that they originally thought would be very difficult in the future did not happen. They naturally knew that Empyrean Gu Qin had something to do with this, but the strange thing was that in these 2 years, not only did he not suppress them, he even took care of Yun Mei Hall. This was a very strange thing. After all, although Empyrean Gu Qin was powerful, he could only ensure that they did not suffer excessive suppression. Moreover, during these 2 years, Heavenly Venerate Qin Yang and Heavenly Venerate Nan Chao managed the Wuji Star fairly, and the situation that Heavenly Venerate Gu Qin was worried about didn't happen. Therefore, although Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei didn't have a good impression of them, they didn't view them as enemies either. To be exact, they couldn't view them as enemies, nor were they qualified to do so. There's no need for formalities. Han Mei, Yun Wei, this time I called you here urgently because there's an important matter that concerns whether the 2 of you can break through to the Heaven Celestial stage. Break through to the Heaven Celestial stage? Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei were shocked. That's right. You also know that our Wuji Star is poor in resources. Although this opportunity is very important to the experts at the peak of the Mastery Earth's Celestial stage, the number of people we can help is very limited. After discussing with Heavenly Venerate Nan Chao, we feel that the 2 of you are undoubtedly the most suitable candidates. In these years, especially these few years, the 2 of you have cultivated many genius disciples, and your contributions to our Wuji Star can be said to be great. Moreover, the 2 of you have outstanding combat strength and talent. It can be said that you're only 1 step away from entering the Heaven Celestial stage. Heavenly Venerate Qin Yang said. Before Lu Qingyang took control of the Wuji Star, he was arrogant and indifferent. However, in just 2 years, he seemed to have changed into a different person. Whether it was his expression or his words, they were quite similar to Heavenly Venerate Yuanru in the past. If Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei didn't know some things, they would have been very grateful to him just based on these few words. After all, this person now represented the highest ruler of the Wuji Star. That's right. The 2 of you have made the highest contributions to the Wuji Star in the past 100 years. Hee. Old man knows that the 2 of you are probably still holding a grudge against me and Heavenly Venerate Qin Yang for expelling Qin Hao from the Wuji Star. Originally, the old man didn't intend to explain, but you'll understand in the future. However, the old man thinks it's better to explain it to the 2 of you in case you can't bear it. Alas, looking at the 2 of you now. The old man really can't bear it. After the incident, the reason why the old man and Heavenly Venerate Qin Yang expelled Qin Hao from the Wuji Star was for the sake of the Wuji Star. It's better to be safe than sorry. The 2 of you should know that in the cultivation world, strength is everything. The Wuji star is at a disadvantage. What can we do if the other party wants to pin the blame on us? At that time, if Qin Hao is sacrificed and the other party continues to pester us because of Qin Hao and heavenly venerate Yuanru, the Wuji star will fall into an irrecoverable situation. However, it's different now. The old man's granddaughter, Bailey Ningbing, has become a disciple of the Sacred Hall after becoming a disciple of the Everlasting Sect. The old man believes that no one will dare to do anything to the Wuji star. At least, no matter what happens in the future, they won't use the matter of Qin Hao and heavenly venerate Yuanru to make things difficult for us. Moreover, the old man doesn't mind telling the two of you. Your disciple Qin Hao has disappeared for almost 2 years, but his progress is very shocking. Even the current Lil Bing is no match for him. Ah. Originally, Venerable Han Mei and Heavenly Venerate Yun Wei didn't feel much when Guan Nan Chao interrupted and spoke on behalf of Heavenly Venerate Qin Yang. This was because they knew that the instigators who targeted Qin Hao were Guan Nan Chao and his granddaughter, the current Heavenly Venerate Bailey Ningbing. However, when they heard Guan Nan Chao's explanation, although he didn't hide it, they also felt that what he said seemed to be reasonable. If he really had bad intentions, there was no reason for him not to suppress them in these 2 years. Instead, he took care of them. However, the two of them were a little surprised to hear him explain so much. With his status, he didn't explain anything to the two of them. It was only when Guan Nan Chao mentioned the news of Qin Hao that the two of them cried out in surprise. Their expressions became excited at the same time. They finally understood why someone of Guan Nan Chao's status would deliberately explain to them. Heavenly Venerate Nan Chao, how did you know? Is the information accurate? The information is absolutely accurate. Old man also heard it from Lil Bing. This girl and Qin Hao can be said to be, enemies are bound to meet. 2 months ago, when she was training, she happened to see Qin Hao attract heavenly punishment. Then, Lil Bing and Qin Hao had a conflict before. You should also know about it, so the two of them fought. Then, Lil Bing was defeated by Qin Hao. The matters of young people, many times they can't see themselves clearly. As bystanders, we can't follow their nonsense. After I received the news, I went with Heavenly Venerate Qin Yang to find Qin Hao, but there was no result. I think he must have already left the place where Lil Bing met him. Yes. Han Mei, Yun Wei, if you can get in touch with Qin Hao, tell him that we, the Wuji star, are not afraid of any forces on the Yang star. Although we are still very weak, we have Bailey Ningbing in him, as well as his Chen Shui, Helian Wuzi, Tantai Lian, Xia Yuyu, and other young people. The Wuji star is destined to be glorious. Heavenly Venerate Nan Chao and I have officially announced that he will return to the Wuji star. As long as he needs it, we will fully support his cultivation. We only hope that in 8 years, he can overcome the tribulation and soar to the sky. Yes. Although the hope is not great, there is still hope. Moreover, by then, Lil Bing should really grow up and understand herself. As long as she grows up fast, with the identity of a disciple of the Divine Temple, she may have a say. There is still a great chance that Qin Hao can overcome the tribulation. Now, we are just in time for a great opportunity in the Earth's celestial stage. Therefore, we have agreed that the Wuji star will fully support the two of you and the other 8 people. Celestial Venerables, what kind of great opportunity is this? Celestial Venerable Han Mei asked. At this moment, she and Celestial Venerable Yun Wei understood the reason why this opportunity fell on them was absolutely because Guan Nan Chao and Lu Qingyang had obtained information about Qin Hao. That was why they were given this opportunity. Otherwise, there were many powerhouses at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage on the Wuji star. Not to mention others, there were many direct descendants of Guan Nan Chao. There were a total of 10 places. How could the two of them be given a chance? It's because only powerhouses at the Earth's celestial stage can enter the primitive mystery land. The estimated time it will open is 1 year later. The Wuji star has 10 places. However, after entering the primitive mystery land this time, the competition will be very fierce. It will not only be a competition within the human race, but also the powerhouses of the Earth's celestial stage from the other 10 galaxies. The primitive mystery land. Upon hearing these words, Celestial Venerable Han Mei and Celestial Venerable Yun Wei revealed a trace of surprise and excitement. According to the information they knew, the primitive mystery land was divided into various levels. The lowest level was the human celestial stage. The highest level was the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. However, no matter what level it was, as long as one entered it, they would obtain great rewards. There were countless real ancient relics, magic treasures, secret books, spiritual items of heaven and earth, great opportunities, and inheritances. It was absolutely the dream of any cultivator. It was just an adjective to say that it was once in 10,000 years. In fact, it was not necessarily seen in 100,000 or even 1,000,000 years. Especially when it was suitable for Earth's celestials like them to enter. Chapter 645. Of course, because of this huge benefit, there was no doubt about the cruelty of entering. They had also read in the information that not everyone dared to enter. Under normal circumstances, a certain number of places would be allocated according to the strength of each major planet. The stronger the planet, the more places it would get. In addition to these places, there were also some rogue cultivators who were selected through the Alliance's registration. The total number of people would be controlled to be the same as the other 9 galaxies. This was the agreement between the 10 galaxies when they competed for resources. In fact, without the support of a force behind them, cultivators at the early and middle Earth celestial stage wouldn't dare to enter. Even those at the peak of the late Earth celestial stage wouldn't dare to enter if their strength was weak. After all, it wasn't only the human race who entered, but also the cultivators from the other 10 galaxies. This was a resource competition between the Earth's celestial stage experts from the 10 galaxies. Needless to say, killing and robbing was inevitable. It would happen even within the human race, let alone among the 10 galaxies. If you entered and didn't compete with others, as long as you were encountered by other races, it would be a fight without any suspense. How could you survive if you weren't strong enough? I believe you should know the risks and benefits of the primitive secret realm. If you enter, even if you just cultivate there, there's a great chance that you'll comprehend the barrier. Both of you have good combat power, and with the full support of the Wuji Star, after entering, as long as you don't compete with others, the danger will be very small. Moreover, if you can contact Chen Hao, I believe he'll take care of you, and you'll be fine. Of course, at that time, you must join the team led by the disciples of the Divine Palace. That's the safest way. We can't contact him. In the past 2 years, he hasn't even logged into the second world. We've sent countless messages, but there's no reply. Venerable Han Mei said directly. By now, she already knew that the two of them wanted to contact Chen Hao, but what was their purpose? Venerable Han Mei didn't know. Although she felt that the two of them were very sincere and didn't seem to want to do anything to Chen Hao, it was hard to know what was in a person's heart. Especially such a high and mighty existence, she couldn't measure it. Because of this, she said so directly. Firstly, it meant that she and Apotheosis Yun Wei couldn't contact Chen Hao at all. That was the truth, which made the other party give up on this idea. Secondly, if they had any ulterior motives, they could withdraw in advance. After all, Lu Qingyang and Guan Nan Chao had said that they would fully support the two of them in entering the primitive mystic realm. This was a huge meat pie, so they would not be bribed. That doesn't matter. As long as you decide to go to the Alliance Square immediately. In real time, they would depart tomorrow. When you arrive at the Yang planet, the treasury of the Wuji planet will be open to you. We will lend you a full set of supreme-grade spirit treasures for the time being. You can return them when you come back. In the second world, the training field in our encampment will be open to you and the other 8 for a period of time. There is no time limit. Are you willing? Empyrean Azure Sun directly asked. Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei looked at each other and replied at the same time, "We are willing." "Thank you, Venerables." "All right then. I'm afraid you'll be gone for a long time this time. Make the necessary arrangements in advance. Set off with Celestial Venerable Gu Chen tomorrow. This time, Celestial Venerable Gu Chen will lead the team, yes." Hearing Lu Qingyang say that Celestial Venerable Gu Chen would lead the team, Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei felt even more comforted. Obviously, these two really meant well. "Brother Nan Chao, I really admire you more and more. It's nothing. It may seem unintentional, but it may be our only chance of survival. So far, our contributions have outweighed our mistakes. No matter what happens in the future, we won't be in danger." "That's right. However, Brother Nan Chao, I'm still puzzled. At the beginning, our thoughts were completely different. How did you suddenly change your strategy when there were no clues at all?" "Ha! Brother Qingyang, you really can't guess." "Ha! It's just a guess. Without hearing it from you personally, I can't be sure. The truth is like this. Lil Bing's hatred is too strong, and it's already an inner demon. Everything I did was for this granddaughter of mine. Back then, I went against her wishes and did all these behind her back because I was afraid that it would be irreversible in the future. Now, it's proven that I did the right thing. Not to mention, with Chen Hao's advancement, there's indeed a great chance that he'll survive the crisis in half a year. Just for Lil Bing, I should do this. Moreover, I found that after doing this, I seem to be happier than before." "Ha! I feel the same. When I really reached this position, I also understood how much responsibility this position has to bear. Now, I also understand why the old ancestor was so biased towards Celestial Venerable Yuanru. He has indeed sacrificed so much more than us. Yes, in these 2 years, I also understood a lot of things that I didn't understand before." "Did you notice anything unusual about Celestial Venerable Gu Chen?" "You noticed it too." "Ha! So this proves that we did the right thing. We should also rejoice that it was Lil Bing's extreme behavior that made me decide to do this. Otherwise, right now, I'm afraid the two of us we still need to work hard. There should still be hope for Daluo Jingxian." Yes, back then, the conversation between Bailey Ningbing and Guan Nan Chao was about how she wanted Chen Hao to beg for death. This was the real reason why Guan Nan Chao decided to change his strategy. As an experienced bystander, he saw it more clearly and clearly. He knew that Chen Hao was already Bailey Ningbing's greatest inner demon. There was no reason for her to hate him, and it shouldn't be so strong to the point of madness. Otherwise, it would be enough to kill Chen Hao. But what about Bailey Ningbing? The depth of love, the intensity of hatred. Guan Nan Chao was sure that although his granddaughter couldn't see through him, it was no longer as simple as pure hatred. It was precisely because of this that Guan Nan Chao changed his strategy at some point and no longer followed the original plan. He chose to leave a way out, to truly do something for planet Wuji. Reality proved that he was right. First, he learned from Bailey Ningbing that Chen Hao, who disappeared without a trace, was now an Earth Immortal expert, and his combat strength surpassed Bailey Ningbing's. Although Bailey Ningbing hadn't explained it in detail, he understood from her furious words and expression that she'd suffered a great loss at Chen Hao's hands. What did this mean? Bailey Ningbing was now a temple disciple, but she still wasn't Chen Hao's match. How many resources had Bailey Ningbing obtained in the past 2 years because of the everlasting sect and the temple? What did Chen Hao have? This kind of advancement could only be described as terrifying. Second, the Long family's sudden rise. The relationship between Long Ting and Chen Hao was no secret on the Ying planet. And now, Long Ting was a temple disciple. Long Yi was a disciple of the Death Door sect and had a great chance of becoming a temple disciple. More importantly, there was news among the higher-ups of the Ying planet that the rapid decline of the Guo family in the past 2 years had something to do with the Long family. The only heir of the Guo family, Guo Nu, was still alive, and his master, Yen Baitian, an expert from the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, was still missing. Some people even speculated that Guan Yu had died at the hands of Long Ting and Long Yi. How could such a powerful family not care about Qin Hao's life? Others might not know, but at least Guan Nan Chao got the news from Bailey Ning Bing that Long Ting was still in contact with Qin Hao. Third, and the first person he and Celestial Master Qing Yang thought had made the best decision was Celestial Master Gu Chen, the eldest disciple of the Limitless Ancestor. This was because half a year ago, the two of them realized that Celestial Master Gu Chen's aura had improved tremendously. That kind of aura had definitely broken through the peak of the Advanced Heaven Immortal stage and could step into the ranks of Daluo Jingxian at any time. Fourth, after they did so, they realized and discovered their own things. From deliberately thinking for the Limitless Star to now, they had begun to enjoy the pleasure brought by this kind of sacrifice for the Limitless Star. This was a feeling they had never had before. Because of the hearts of the people, because of the convergence of luck, even Gu Chen's attitude toward them had changed a little. Phew, vast universe star, East Stream City. In the most expensive cultivation room in the best restaurant, Qin Hao, who had been meditating for 20 days, had finally completely digested the gains from the 6,000 battles. The state of, I am heaven and earth are me, also allowed him to really consolidate his realm after stepping into the Earth's celestial stage for nearly 4 months. On the road of cultivation, the higher the stage, the slower the progress. Although Qin Hao's soul realm was comparable to that of a heaven immortal, there were still many constraints. If he wanted to advance to the peak of the Advanced Heaven Immortal stage, it was not something he could do in a few days or dozens of days. This was no longer as simple as tempering his true core strength. Let's go to the mysterious ice realm for this trial. Maybe the harvest will be bigger. Qin Hao slowly stood up and thought to himself. The mysterious ice realm was located at the northernmost part of Vast Universe Star. It was one of the best trial places on Vast Universe Star. Qin Hao, who had experienced the tempering of the ninefold mysterious fire, had long wanted to enter the mysterious ice realm. However, according to the records of the mysterious ice realm, it was a suitable trial place for masters at the peak of the Advanced Heaven Immortal stage. Although Qin Hao was confident, it was a bit too rash to go there when he was at the human celestial stage. Moreover, he had reached the peak at that time, so there was no need to take risks. Now, after stepping into the Earth's celestial stage, it was suitable to go there. In addition to tempering his body with the extremely cold mysterious ice energy, he could also reconstruct the divine beast Black Tortoise's golden body. These were all things that Qin Hao had to do. In addition to his own steady cultivation, Qin Hao could not let go of anything that could quickly enhance his strength, and the divine beasts of 5 directions were one of them. Hello, I'm checking out. After entering the restaurant, Qin Hao, who had never left, finally stepped out of the room for the first time after 3 months and 20 days and went to the front desk of the restaurant. Okay. Sir, you have been in seclusion for a few months. Did you enter the second world? I don't think so. Do you know anything about the primitive mystic realm? Chapter 646. News about the primitive mystic realm. Qin Hao was slightly surprised. In the past 2 years, Qin Hao had gone through many adventures and had a more detailed understanding of the cultivation world. He knew about the various treasured lands, holy lands, perilous lands, and all kinds of secret records. Therefore, when Qin Hao heard the female attendant at the human celestial stage, even the usually calm Qin Hao was a little excited and asked in surprise. Yes. It seems that you really don't know about it. Otherwise, you would have gone to sign up a long time ago. Half a month ago, the headquarters of the Vast Galaxy Alliance announced that they had discovered a primitive mystic realm of the Earth's celestial stage that is about to open. Every city in the Vast Galaxy Star has a quota for disbanded cultivators. Tomorrow is the deadline for registration. If you don't come out today, our manager will inform you tomorrow. Do I sign up at the Alliance Center? Yes. Your fees have been processed. Please come again. Okay, thank you. Hiss. Qin Hao turned into a stream of light and disappeared from the front desk of the restaurant. At the same time, Chen Hao took out a spiritual helmet that he had used before and went into the second world. Beep, 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 beep. As expected, he received a message from Long Ting and Long Yi. The message didn't mention anything. It just asked Chen Hao to contact them as soon as possible. Chen Hao knew that any spiritual helmet that he used to contact Long Ting and Long Yi would receive the same message. According to the records, the primitive mystic realm, no matter what level it was a big event that would shake the entire cultivation world. Moreover, the cultivation world mentioned here was not just the vast galaxy of the human race, but the entire cultivation world including the 10 galaxies. This time, it was the primitive mystic realm of the Earth's celestial stage. For him, it was a great opportunity. Beep, 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 Chen Hao sent a communication request. Brother Hao. You're finally here. There's great news. Have you heard? Yes. I'm here to tell you that I already know. Don't worry about me. Now, I'm going to sign up. That's good. I was worried that you would miss it because you were cultivating in seclusion. Luckily. Ha ha ha. Big brother Hao, you don't plan on coming with me? Long Ting caught the hidden meaning in Chen Hao's words and said with a bit of disappointment. You're a disciple of the Divine Temple and a leader of the team. I'm just an unruly commoner, so I won't follow you. Oh, right, Sister Ting, I've taken the second pill. Looking at your image now, I feel. Ha ha ha. I understand your feelings now, humph. You even said that I was horny. Do you understand now? Hee hee hee. Pain and happiness. That's not right, didn't you say you didn't feel anything last time? Didn't it only act up once? How did he? Who knows? In any case, after stepping into the Earth's celestial stage, the eruption was 10 times or even 100 times more intense than the first time. Although I managed to withstand it, the frequency of the eruption was so high that I couldn't even calm down to cultivate. My mind was filled with you. Moreover, after each eruption, the effect seemed to be very small, so small that it could be ignored. So, I could only swallow the second pill. It's much better now. Brother Hao. Are you serious? What do you mean by serious? Of course, I'm serious. Would I lie to you about this? I mean, after the eruption, you have no effect. That's right. Hee hee, I accidentally reached my limit. Am I stronger than you? Chen Hao said proudly as he stared at Long Ting's image. In his mind, he couldn't help but think of the illusion where he had ravaged this girl thousands of times when he had an eruption. He couldn't help but feel his heart throbbing and his cock twitching. This kind of teasing, often happened between the two of them. Firstly, it was to communicate their feelings. Secondly, it was to promote the absorption of the pill's effect. Therefore, in the past 2 years, Chen Hao and Long Ting had basically reached the point where they could talk about anything and didn't hold back at all. Of course, it was only limited to affecting their communication. This time, I'll try to hold back and refine to the limit. Ha. Okay, I'm going to sign up. Although Long Ting was reluctant, she understood why Chen Hao didn't want to go with her. She was a disciple of the Divine Temple. As one of the top geniuses of the human clan, they all had a mission when they entered. To be precise, they had a mission to compete with the other 9 galaxies. Every disciple of the Divine Temple would lead many experts in the Earth's celestial stage to form an army to compete for great opportunities, great inheritances, real ancient spiritual treasures, ancient relics, spiritual items of heaven and earth, and spiritual medicine. Only in this way could they gain the most. However, for some of the top experts with real combat strength, they would never join a team. After all, if a disciple of the Divine Temple led a team and the benefits were distributed according to contribution, it was far better for them to eat alone. Therefore, there were still many lone wolves. But as a disciple of the Divine Temple, they had to lead a team and take on the responsibility of protecting the cultivators of the human clan. This was their duty. Otherwise, a state of disunity would be very disadvantageous to the human clan. Of course, as a leader, their gains would definitely be greater than the lone wolves. As for Chen Hao, he could be considered to be a homeless, itinerant cultivator. He didn't enjoy the preferential treatment that the human clan gave to the disciples of the divine temple. Naturally, he didn't have the duty and responsibility to protect the cultivators of the human clan. Of course, even if he stood out, others wouldn't recognize him. Fuck. I'm willing to die, why can't I sign up? Damn it, am I weak? Forget it, brother, just accept your fate. We have no background and our strength isn't very outstanding. The quota for lone wolves is limited. It's natural that we can't compete for it, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Look, those who passed, which one of them didn't have a strong aura? And they all have ultimate spiritual treasure sets. Even if we don't go in and compete with others, if we're unlucky and encounter cultivators from other galaxies, we'll definitely die. So what if we die? I'm willing to take the risk. Why can they pass with ultimate spiritual treasure sets, but I can't? My aura is not weaker than theirs. When Chen Hao rushed to the registration point at the center of the alliance, the huge square was filled with countless cultivators of the Earth's celestial realm. Moreover, each of them was overflowing with treasure light, and their auras were fully released, showing that they were in their peak condition. However, there were many cultivators who couldn't pass the registration and were cursing and swearing. Looking at the angry cultivator, Chen Hao, who was dressed in a black robe and had changed his appearance and aura, shook his head slightly. Although Chen Hao didn't know how many cultivators could enter the vast universe galaxy this time, this person's aura was really not very good. In the whole square, at least 90% of the people were stronger than him. Obviously, this was a guy who didn't know his own limits, wasn't afraid of death, and had no background. Otherwise, he wouldn't not have a decent spiritual treasure. Humph. What are you looking at? You're stronger than me. You don't even have a spiritual treasure, and your aura is worse than mine. Why are you still hiding? Don't you know that you have to show up in person? Are you laughing? What are you laughing at? If I can't pass, you, a rookie in the initial stage of the Earth's celestial realm, don't even think about it. The cultivator who was cursing and swearing happened to see Chen Hao, who was walking in, and Chen Hao happened to shake his head casually. Great, now he had become the other party's punching bag. Chen Hao smiled and shook his head again. He stood at the end of the registration line. My young friend, please show your original appearance and aura. When Chen Hao stood at the end of the line, an old man who was standing at the end of the line and wearing the Alliance's special uniform reminded him with a smile, the number of disbanded cultivators in the primitive mystic land is limited, and there are too many cultivators who have signed up. Therefore, you have to go through a rough selection before you are qualified to sign up. Okay. Swoosh. In the information about the primitive mystic land, there were no details about the registration of disbanded cultivators. Therefore, Chen Hao really didn't know that he had to show his original appearance and aura. However, when he heard the old man's words, he knew it was inevitable. Therefore, he put away his disguise without hesitation. When the mysterious aura dissipated from Chen Hao's body, it had been almost 2 years. Whether it was in the real world or the second world, Chen Hao, who had never revealed his true appearance in front of anyone, finally appeared in front of people with his real aura and appearance for the first time. No way. Fuck. The cultivator who had been rejected just now was ready to laugh at Chen Hao. When he saw Chen Hao's real appearance and sensed Chen Hao's aura, he was dumbfounded. This is the initial stage of the Earth's celestial realm? He's so powerful. He didn't release his aura deliberately, but he's more powerful than me, who's at the later stage of the Earth's celestial realm. Ah, cold-blooded. Brother, you're cold-blooded. Am I right? Suddenly, a nearby cultivator at the initial stage of the Earth's celestial realm, who had come to join in the fun, exclaimed as he looked at Chen Hao eagerly. Cold-blooded? Originally, only a few people in the surroundings were surprised by Chen Hao, who was only at the initial stage of the Earth's celestial realm but had an extremely powerful aura. However, with this sudden exclamation, especially the name, cold-blooded, that had caused a sensation in the entire East Flow city, countless gazes instantly turned to Chen Hao. Chen Hao's heart thumped. How the fuck could this person recognize him? However, Chen Hao immediately understood what was going on. This person had only seen his realm and sensed his aura. Coupled with his familiarity with the young cultivators of East Flow City, this person had made this guess. After all, the strength of his aura at this moment could only be compared to the mysterious cold-blooded of the second world and the #1 genius girl of East Flow City. As for him, he was a man. You've got the wrong person, Chen Hao said with a faint smile. His handsome face and gentle voice made anyone who saw or heard him feel very pleasing to the eye, as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. How is this cold-blooded? Cold-blooded is very old, and his cold aura is completely different from this brother's. Cough cough. I'm sorry, my guess was wrong. I'm sorry. Third update. Chapter 647. The person who spoke also felt that he was too rash. Although the young man in front of him had a strong aura, neither his voice nor his appearance could be faked by a cold-blooded person who was so cold to the bone. The surrounding people were also discussing. Although they concluded that Chen Hao was not cold-blooded, they were still surprised that Chen Hao, who was so young and at the initial stage of the human celestial stage, had such a strong aura. Chen Hao smiled and looked at the old man who was also a little shocked. He said, "Senior, can I sign up?" Cough, cough. You have such an aura at the initial stage of the Earth's celestial stage, which is really outstanding. When your aura is enough, please use your most powerful magic weapon. As long as your magic weapon is powerful enough, you can sign up. This is also responsible for your life. Okay. Hiss. Chen Hao directly used a set of spiritual treasures that he had refined in the Wuji star. He had basically thrown it in the corner and hadn't used it for a long time. He had no choice but to use this set. He didn't have any bad ones, nor did he have any good ones. The only thing that was much better than this was a miniature flying machine. A divine artifact, the North Sea soft armor. The 5 elements sword that had been refined countless times and was absolutely second only to a divine artifact among the best spiritual treasures. Or the original body of the ancient spiritual treasure. Every single one of those items was enough to scare people to death. After a set of spirit treasure armor appeared on Chen Hao's body, Chen Hao imperceptibly increased his aura by 30% to make up for the flaw of the spirit treasure being of a lower grade. Even though his spiritual treasure wasn't really of a low level, it was just as a certain someone had said, this world wouldn't understand its coquettishness. Similarly, the spiritual treasure armor that he had refined when he was at a very low level, although the runes were not profound enough, the practitioners here would not understand the functions it contained. Well, you barely meet the requirements. You can sign up now. I hope you can pass the test. I also hope you can find some more powerful spiritual treasures after you pass the test. Only by strengthening your own strength, when you enter the primitive mystery realm, you will be safer and you may gain more. Okay. Thank you, Senior. Chen Hao said politely, clasping his hands. You're welcome. Little brother, to be honest, it would be even better for you if it opened a few years later. Unfortunately, your current cultivation is slightly lacking. Time waits for no man. This is something that can't be helped. Chen Hao said with a slight smile. 10 minutes later, Chen Hao followed the long line into the testing hall. Whether or not you can obtain the qualifications to enter the primal mystic realm is not something that our East Flow City Alliance Center can decide. We will only report the results of the test to the Vast Universe Galaxy Alliance headquarters. In the end, according to the test results of all the rogue cultivators that have registered, we will choose from the highest ranking to the number of spots allocated to the rogue cultivators. There was only one test, and that was the combat strength test. This helmet is a special spirit realm helmet for testing purposes. You can enter your own information and test it. Tomorrow night, the Vast Universe Galaxy Alliance headquarters would tabulate the final results. What else was there to be unclear about? If not, you can start the test after the people in front of you have completed the test. Everyone only has 5 minutes in the second world. It won't be long before. In the entire hall, there were 1,000 people sitting cross-legged in a row, wearing special test helmets and testing. As for Chin Hao and the other 999 people, they were waiting at the front of their respective teams. At this time, Chin Hao understood that for someone like him, who obviously didn't originate from East Flow City, to participate in the East Flow City's registration wouldn't cause the East Flow City's cultivators to reveal anything. This was because this was a competition among the Earth Immortal Realm rogue cultivators of the entire vast universe galaxy. It didn't matter where one registered for the test. Whether one could pass or not would depend on the overall ranking. If this wasn't the case, Chin Hao would have a bit of trouble registering here. Moreover, he would definitely be pushed aside by the rogue cultivators from East Flow City. It might even be a problem if he could register. At that time, Chin Hao would have no choice but to return to the Asianing planet. Even if he didn't have enough time, how could the Asianing Planet Alliance allow him to participate in the test? Of course, this was only a competition among rogue cultivators. As for the large sects, powers, vital planets, and so on, there was no need to take the test. They only needed to wait for their departure. After the cultivator in front of Chin Hao finished his test, Chin Hao walked over and picked up the special helmet. I don't have to perform too well, but I can't perform too badly either. Otherwise, I'll be so low-key that I lose my qualification, Chin Hao thought to himself. The aura around his body suddenly became stronger. He didn't need to sacrifice his blood essence. He only needed to integrate his mind into it. Hiss. Beep, 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 welcome to the Second World Alliance Combat Strength Testing Space. The time limit is 5 minutes. Your combat strength will be determined according to the number of enemies you kill and their combat strength. Your serial number is Vast Universe Star East Flow City 6784341. Please enter your real personal information based on your birth token. Disguises are not allowed. If found, you will be disqualified directly. Chin Hao frowned slightly. He originally thought that he wouldn't need to use his real identity, but he didn't expect to be stuck at this level. However, before coming, he had thought of this possibility. Even if his identity was exposed, he still had to participate. At this time, he definitely couldn't withdraw because of this. Name, Chin Hao, born on the Wuji star under the jurisdiction of the Yang star. Contact number, ******. Chin Hao entered his real personal information according to the prompt. Beep, beep, beep. Test complete. Identity confirmed. The test will begin in 5 seconds. Please get ready. Boom. Chin Hao looked at the huge space that was as spacious as a martial arts practice field. Suddenly, he activated the energy around his body. Clang. At the same time, he unsheathed his sword. However, it was not the 5 elements sword, but the separated golden sword. My combat strength is determined by the number of enemies killed and their combat strength in a fixed time. Then I can't fight with the same mentality as when I'm cultivating. Chin Hao, who had been immersed in cultivation for nearly 2 years, was pursuing his own Tao even when he was training. Unless he was in a dangerous situation, he would give the other party a chance to perform to his heart's content. Now, if Chin Hao did this, he would definitely be eliminated. This was the difference between a mechanical test and a manual test. Only the results mattered. No one would care about the process, and no one could care about it. Especially with such a large number of testers, if the cultivators of the Alliance were to watch the test one by one, it would take a long time for the test to be completed. Moreover, if human factors were involved, something fishy would happen. Howl. Boom. After 5 seconds of preparation, a giant monster with a height of 1,000 feet suddenly appeared. It roared angrily at Chin Hao and slapped its giant claws down. A demonic beast at the peak of the later stage of the Earth celestial stage. Die. Bang. Chi. Facing the monster with a height of 1,000 feet, Chen Hao didn't panic at all. He stomped his feet and jumped up like a cannonball at an even more terrifying speed. Then, he brandished his sword and slashed it down forcefully. The dazzling and fierce sword light was like a silver river that descended from the sky, and it contained boundless profundities and fierce sword insight. Rip! It slashed the enormous body of the demon beast into two, and then... rumble! In the violent explosion, the demonic beast turned into a white light. It was dead. Howl! 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 To Chen Hao's surprise, as soon as he killed the first demonic beast, another 10 demonic beasts with the same aura appeared. How could it increase so quickly? Without much time to think, Chen Hao brandished his sword to meet them. Even if such a giant monster surrounded him and attacked him violently at the same time, in Chen Hao's eyes, except for the fact that their absolute strength was stronger, they were no threat at all. His eyes were full of fatal flaws. Swish! Swish! Chen Hao shook his wrist and 10 sword lights appeared. These 10 sword lights were not as domineering and violent as when he killed the first monster. In fact, the energy contained in these 10 sword lights was not as great as that of the first one. However, the 10,000-meter-long monsters fell to the ground. In front of Chen Hao, they were like paper tigers. Such a demonic beast can be easily killed by a cultivator at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. It's just a little more strenuous than me, Chen Hao thought to himself. At this time, what made Chen Hao frown again was that the third wave directly turned into 100 similar demonic beasts. Isn't this increase too fierce? Chen Hao wanted to buy some time, but he felt that it was unnecessary. According to his judgment, the number of demonic beasts killed and their combat power were definitely not enough to pass the test. When it was about time, he would go easy on them. Therefore, in just 5 seconds, the 100-odd monsters, which were full of energy but stupid in his eyes, all turned into white light again. But, Wing Tribe, Insect Tribe, Dark Demon Tribe, Ghost Tribe, Elf Tribe, Goblin Tribe, God Tribe, Heavenly Devil Tribe. Rumble, at the 5th minute, when there were only 10 seconds left to the end, Chen Hao, who was filled with the flames of war and an incomparably strong desire to fight, was currently bathed in blood and filled with a monstrous killing intent. His eyes were like 2 sharp swords as he stared fixedly at the powerful sky demon that had fallen to the ground and turned into a white light. Beep, beep, beep. Congratulations on passing the test. You've been awarded the title of a human tribe first-class master at the Earth's celestial stage. Chen Hao, who thought he was going to face a more powerful opponent, was suddenly awakened by the warning tone in his mind. Fuck. I forgot to keep a low profile. Swish. Chen Hao was directly ejected from the second world. His real body had a conflicted and depressed look on his face. Brother, don't be depressed. You were just born at the wrong time. You're at the initial stage of the human celestial stage, and your aura is already very powerful. It's my turn to test. Cough, cough. I'm sorry. Chen Hao took off the test helmet and handed it to the cultivator who came over. I'm depressed. I've already decided to keep a low profile and get an average result. But I didn't expect that the next opponent would be more and more powerful. Not only that, the opponent was an ace at the Earth's celestial stage from the other 9 galaxies. He thought about buying some time during the battle, but the opponent used his most powerful attack. What could Chen Hao do? He couldn't let himself be killed by an alien race, right? 4th update, please vote. Chapter 648. Even though it was only the second world, Chen Hao knew that it was a simulation and not real. But in his heart, he did not want to be killed by a member of the mysterious clan. Another reason was that Chen Hao was very curious about the mysterious clans in the other 9 galaxies and wanted to know more about them. After all, this was the first time he had met a cultivator from the mysterious clan. Doing this could be considered as preparation for entering the primitive mystic realm. As a result, Chen Hao was depressed that he did not succeed in keeping a low profile. He had actually passed and obtained the title of a top expert in the Earth's celestial stage of the human clan. Chen Hao did not know how the combat power represented by this title was divided, but he was sure that obtaining the right to enter the primitive mystic realm would not be a problem. Do you want to see the test results here tomorrow night? Chen Hao asked as he walked to the side of the old man who was in charge of the explanation. No need. The Alliance headquarters will send the results directly to you in the second world tomorrow night. Forgive the old man for being direct, but you don't have to be depressed. Not passing is not necessarily a bad thing. A genius like you is only in the Earth's celestial stage of the initial stage. It would be a pity if you died there. For you to have such a cultivation base at such a young age and have such a powerful aura, I believe there will be great opportunities waiting for you. Cough cough, thank you for the reminder, senior. Chen Hao said awkwardly. Obviously, his depressed expression when he had popped up in the second world was thought by everyone present that he had not killed many opponents and that his test results were not good. Chen Hao naturally would not explain. Stepping out of the registration square, Chen Hao went directly to the Alliance Teleportation Center and left East Flow City, where he had been for close to 3 months. There was still about a year before the primitive mystic realm opened. He would not waste time foolishly. Not to mention a year, he would not waste even a month. Of course, the most important thing was that Chen Hao did not need to prepare anything. He would not specially cultivate a secret technique that could increase his combat power in a short period of time just for the primitive mystic realm. He only needed to advance step by step according to his plan. What Chen Hao didn't know was that the moment he stepped out of the registration test hall, the old man who had been enlightening Chen Hao suddenly revealed a look of surprise. His body swayed, and he didn't even bother explaining to the new testers. He rushed out of the hall as fast as lightning and chased after Chen Hao. But unfortunately, even if he was an expert at the heavenly celestial stage, he was unable to sense Chen Hao's aura any longer. In a short period of over 10 minutes, he searched through all the possible places Chen Hao could have gone, yet he was unable to find anyone with a similar aura. Clear the stage, a first-rate Earth celestial stage expert. I even tried to persuade him not to be depressed, DDD. Old Wang, have you caught up? No. As soon as I received your message, I immediately chased after them. It didn't even take a minute, but I couldn't find them. He changed his aura, and he must be good at hiding it. What a pity. I'm sorry. Forget it. I'm guessing that he's a genius disciple from one of the top sects who came out to take the test in order to empty a spot in their sect. Even if we catch up to him, the chances of us being able to poach him are not high. That's right, I think so too. But, are you sure you didn't misread the test number? He's only at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. Although his aura is comparable to an expert at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage, when he finished the test, he had a depressed look on his face. I couldn't help but comfort him. The old man still didn't dare to believe it. After all, this was a temporary test space. Although the limits of the test weren't very high, the chances of clearing the stage were definitely less than 1 in 10,000. And the chances of obtaining a first-rate Earth celestial stage expert was less than 1 in 10,000. And this was only referring to cultivators at the peak of the late stage of the Earth celestial stage. And Chen Hao was only at the initial stage of the Earth celestial stage. In the entire East Flow City, perhaps only the number 1 genius girl and a handful of other geniuses could achieve this. If such a person could be poached and given a certain amount of sponsorship, it would more or less bring about a great harvest. And the cultivator who had asked him to find Chen Hao was a member of the upper echelons of the East Flow City Alliance. However, this was a private matter. This was because he wanted to invest in a relatively strong cultivator. For instance, he wanted to provide top-grade spirit treasures, weapons, pills, and other conditions. As long as the other party gave him a certain percentage of the harvests in the primal mystic realm. Or, he could sell some of the items to them first, and other such mutually beneficial matters. After all, the items in the primal mystic realm were all extremely rare and precious items that were difficult to encounter in the outside world. But the cultivators that entered also needed to be strong. Only then would they be able to obtain more and be safer. It was also because of this reason that once a great lucky chance like the primal mystic realm appeared, the various large influences and cultivators that could enter would cooperate with each other. It can't be wrong. Number *********** cleared the stage, and obtained the title of a human first-rate Earth celestial stage expert. This is absolutely the level of a genius from one of the top sects of vast universe star. Forget it, forget it. If I chase after him like this, the chances are very small. Help me look around, there's no need to wait for the test results to come out. Alright. This was a test organized by the Vast Universe Galaxy Alliance headquarters. Even if the old man was a member of the upper echelons of the East Flow City Alliance, he could only see the test results that corresponded to the number. He wasn't able to obtain any information about Chin Hao's true identity. This was also because the Vast Universe Galaxy Alliance headquarters wanted to protect the privacy of the cultivators. An hour later, Chin Hao passed through a transmission array and arrived at a city that was over 10 times larger than East Flow City. This city was also relatively close to Vast Universe City. It was one of the central cities of Vast Universe Star, Skybreak City. Skybreak City was even further from Vast Universe Star's North Pole Holy Land of Cultivation, the Mystic Ice region, than it was from East Flow City. The reason Chin Hao came here was because he wanted to wait for a day. After 2 years, Chin Hao didn't believe that those fellows from the Asianing planet would continue to monitor his situation, nor did he fear anything. But for the time being, he didn't want to be entangled with anything. Thus, he chose to wait for a day at Skybreak City. When the time came, he would use his true identity's soul helmet to land on the planet and check the results sent out by the Vast Universe Galaxy Alliance. At the very least, he had to confirm the departure time and location so that he wouldn't be delayed. As expected, the larger a city is and the closer it is to Vast Universe City, the thicker the heaven and earth spiritual energy and heavenly Tao laws are. Unfortunately, the daily consumption of outsiders is also terrifyingly high. The average person really can't afford to come, nor is there a need to come. Chin Hao used the anonymous wealth card to register and entered the huge city, feeling the energy of heaven and earth as he thought to himself. In every city of Vast Universe Star, even if an outsider didn't do anything, they would still have to pay a massive amount of immortal essence crystals every day. Only if an outsider joined a large influence in the city would they be able to avoid this expense. This was also something that the Vast Universe Galaxy Alliance had no choice but to restrict. Otherwise, all the cultivators would be concentrated in Vast Universe City. Of course, this sort of thick heaven and earth spiritual energy and heavenly Tao laws didn't have much significance to cultivators. A cultivation room could solve this problem. Beep beep beep, Chin Hao walked aimlessly on the streets, listening to the voices of the cultivators, sensing the auras of others, and understanding the unfamiliar city. At the same time, he entered the second world with a fake identity and contacted Long Ting. What took you so long? If you didn't come, I would have gone into seclusion. Long Ting said directly. During the test, the information that was inputted was real, so I left the original city first. I just came up. You're going into seclusion. What seclusion? Of course I'm going into seclusion for cultivation. For this trip to the primitive mystic realm, the disciples of the inner celestial stage of the sacred temple will collectively go into seclusion for a year. It's said that it will give us a chance to fight with the Earth's celestial stage experts of the various races in the 10 major galaxies. We will also be trained in various skills and experience after entering the primitive mystic realm, including the ability to lead a team, tactics, and so on. It's a complete seclusion, and all contact with the outside world will be cut off. That's right. The sacred temple is indeed the sacred temple. I'm so envious. Chin Hao said with a smile. What's there to be envious of? You can come in whenever you want. Okay, I have something important to tell you. Huh? Your eldest senior brother, Celestial Venerable Gu Chen, contacted me through my uncle. He said that if you can contact him, you must contact him. It's about your masters on the Boundless Star, Celestial Venerable Han Mei and Celestial Venerable Yun Wei. What's wrong with them? Chen Hao was slightly surprised. Don't worry, they were chosen by the Boundless Star and were qualified to enter the primitive mystic realm. They were chosen. Are there many places for the Boundless Star? Chen Hao frowned slightly. The Boundless Star is just an ordinary planet with life on the Yang Star. There should be 10 places. I don't know the details, so you'd better contact your senior brother. Also, don't be careless this time. Our hall leader said that even the disciples of the sacred temple have a high mortality rate in the primitive mystic realm. There's a 10% chance. If the top geniuses of the other 9 galaxies are too strong, the mortality rate may be even higher. After all, the competition will be fierce. So, you have to be careful. Remember to contact me before you set off. I don't have much information now. Okay. That's it, I'll contact senior brother Gu Chen first. Okay. After cutting off contact with Long Ting, Chen Hao searched for eldest senior brother Gu Chen's number and sent a verification request. After a slight hesitation, Chen Hao entered Celestial Venerable Han Mei and Celestial Venerable Yun Wei's numbers and sent a verification request. Since stepping onto Vast Universe Star, Chen Hao's only contact had been Long Ting and Long Yi. He had completely disappeared from the entire Yang planet, including his eldest senior brother, Celestial Venerable Gu Chen, his master, Venerable Immortal Han Mei, and Venerable Immortal Yun Wei. 10 years was just the blink of an eye for a cultivator. Chen Hao did not want them to worry too much about him. Similarly, he did not want to be distracted. He also wanted to prevent the Yang Star Alliance from obtaining information about him through them. But now, because of the primitive mystic realm, Chen Hao had to contact them. Chapter 649. I guess they're all offline. After a few minutes, there was no response from the 3 of them. Obviously, they were not in the second world. Otherwise, Celestial Master Gu Chen would have approved the application, let alone Celestial Master Han Mei and Celestial Master Yun Wei. After all, anyone could guess that he was using a fake identity. Celestial Master Gu Chen had sent him a message through the Long family, asking him to contact him. How could he not have thought of that? Since the 2 masters have obtained the places to enter the primitive mystic land, they should be on their way to the Yang planet now. Maybe they're in a no-signal area. I don't know about eldest senior brother. Forget it for now. Anyway, I'm going to enter the second world tomorrow. I'll see what happens then. Chen Hao exited the second world and walked toward the downtown area of Tianyu City. After seeing a high-end tavern, Chen Hao went in directly. In any city, whether it was the secular world or the cultivation world, the tavern was always the best place to get information. In the past 2 years, whenever Chen Hao went to a city, he would stay in the tavern for a day to learn some information about the cultivation world and see if there was anything useful to him. In fact, not only Chen Hao, but almost all the cultivators who went out to experience the world maintained this habit. However, Chen Hao was different from the others. He was a typical loner. He only looked for information but never contributed. In the tavern, he just listened to the discussions of others and never participated. There's still more than half a day left. It's really hard to wait, ha. I agree. However, we'll definitely be qualified to enter the second world. It depends on whether we can get the title of leader. I'm sure I can become the leader of a 100-person team. Brother Mu, don't hide it. How many people have you killed? Among us, you're the most powerful. Yes, Brother Mu, tell us and we'll admire you, ha. All you need to know is that I'll definitely be the leader of a 1,000-person team. In the tavern, 8 middle-aged men at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage were sitting together. They were drinking and talking loudly, as if they were afraid that others couldn't hear them. When the person called Brother Mu mentioned that he could become the leader of a 1,000-man team, there was a hint of arrogance in his expression. Chen Hao, who had just sat down and casually ordered some drinks, as well as many cultivators around him, were obviously attracted by this table of people. What surprised Chen Hao was that he could actually sense the existence of experts at the peak of the advanced stage of the heaven celestial stage everywhere in the huge tavern. Moreover, the aura of every single one of them was extremely strong, and they didn't deliberately conceal it. Old men like this were scattered throughout the tavern. It was at this moment that Chen Hao sensed that many of their minds were probing him. Chen Hao was already used to such a situation. In fact, even though he'd changed his appearance, aura, and wore a black bamboo hat in such an occasion, he wouldn't intentionally weaken his aura. A kind person would be bullied by others, and if he pretended to be an idiot, not to mention entering a high-class tavern like this, he would suffer unfair treatment anywhere. Chen Hao didn't care, and he continued to listen to the cultivators' discussion. At the same time, he caught the conversations of other tables. The leader of a 1,000-man team. Awesome, Brother Mu, it seems that you must have passed the test and obtained the title of a first-class expert at the Earth's celestial stage, right? Impossible. Brother Mu, you have no problem passing the test, but it's difficult for you to be a first-class expert. I think Brother Mu should have obtained the title of a second-class expert, and is very close to a first-class expert. So, you can definitely become the leader of a 1,000-man team. The old man can provide you with a spiritual treasure set of high grade, and you only need to pay 50% of the profits you get from it. Moreover, those that are suitable for you are yours, and those that are not suitable for you can be sold to me first. Think about it carefully. If you have an upper-grade spiritual treasure set that suits you, it will definitely double your battle strength. This means that you will be able to fight for more things, and it will definitely be twice as much as what you can get on your own. More importantly, you should be aware of the dangers involved. With an upper-grade spiritual treasure set, your chances of survival will be much higher. Senior, you probably don't know the conditions of the senior just now, right? Provide me with a spiritual treasure set of high grade and a spiritual treasure sword of the best quality for only 45% of the profits. I'm sorry, I can't agree. How about this, when the results are out, if you can become the leader of a 1,000-man team, I will provide you with a full set of best quality spiritual treasures. The conditions are still the same as before, how about that? I'm not sure if I can become the leader of a 1,000-man team. But you should know my achievements and strength in the arena. Even if I don't become the leader of a 1,000-man team, I'm not much worse than them. So, my conditions are very simple. The best quality spiritual treasure set of high grade will be split in half, and I will sell it to you first. But you have to sign a contract now. Whether I can become the leader of a 1,000-man team or not, you have to follow these conditions. If it's okay, then it's okay. If it's not okay, then forget it. There are still people waiting to talk to me. Let's be straightforward. After a while, Chen Hao was multitasking and got all kinds of information. What made Chen Hao sigh was that the appearance of the primitive mystery land, although only experts at the Earth's celestial stage, had really caused a sensation in the entire cultivation world. 99% of the topics discussed in the pub were related to the primitive mystery land. At the same time, Chen Hao also understood the purpose of those experts at the heaven celestial stage here. The reason why the experts at the Earth's celestial stage talked so loudly was very pretentious. They were promoting themselves. Those experts at the heaven celestial stage were choosing who to invest in. At the same time, through the words of those people, Chen Hao also figured out that it seemed that passing the test and obtaining the title of a first-rate expert at the Earth's celestial stage of the human clan were quite awesome. Passing the test and obtaining the title of a second-rate expert at the Earth's celestial stage of the human clan, if one was close to the level of a first-rate expert, he would definitely become the leader of a 1,000-man team. The title of a first-rate expert would definitely allow one to become the leader of a 1,000-man team. The top existence among them might even become the leader of a 10,000-man team. Little brother, how are you? Just when Chen Hao had just figured out what was going on, an old man at the peak of the late stage of the heaven celestial stage came to Chen Hao's table with a smile on his face. You don't mind old man sitting here, do you? Senior, please make yourself at home. Chen Hao said. Old man, the elder of the Flying Shadow sect in Tianyu City, Sima Qingyun. How should I address you, little brother? Chen Feiyang. Senior, are you looking for someone to cooperate with? It's a pity that I'm not qualified to enter, I'm sorry. Chen Hao went straight to the point. Not qualified? Little brother, are you kidding me? Although you are at the initial stage of the Earth's celestial stage, your aura is not inferior to that of an ordinary expert at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage. How could you not be qualified? I was eliminated when I registered for the screening. Chen Hao didn't expect that the old man didn't give up when he was so frank. Instead, he questioned him. Oh. That's because you don't have any good spiritual treasures. Little brother, old man thinks highly of you. Why don't I provide you now, give you, a set of supreme grade spiritual treasures, and you can take the test again. There's still time. Senior Sima, are you sure you're not mistaken? I'm not worth your investment, right? That's right, that's right. I've always been good at judging people. Don't worry, if you can pass the test and enter the primitive mystic realm, I'll only take 40% of your gains. Before you enter, I'll provide you with some healing elixirs. I was worried that you were a disciple of a large sect. Looks like I don't have to worry now. I'm not strong enough, sometimes, strength isn't the most important thing. Little brother, you've reached the Earth's celestial stage at such a young age, and you're only in the early stage, but you're comparable to someone at the peak of the late stage. To have such achievements without joining a large sect, you're definitely someone with great luck and opportunity. How can it be measured by strength alone? Look at those fellows over there, they boast so much, and their strength is indeed not bad, but not many people go to talk to them. Hearing the old man's words, Chen Hao was slightly stunned, and immediately understood the crux of the matter. Those fellows' strength was indeed not bad, but the middle-aged man's appearance aside, his life aura was estimated to be at least a few thousand years old. Such a person's luck and opportunity would definitely not be good. However, Chen Hao did not expect the old man's enthusiasm. After hesitating slightly, Chen Hao said, "Thank you senior for your appreciation, but I don't want to take the test again. I believe in my luck, since I was rejected the first time, I can't go again." Then now that old man is looking for you, isn't that your luck? It's not the same. The first time is the most important. If I insist, maybe the primitive mystic realm will be where I die. I'm sorry. Chen Hao's eyes were clear and firm, and his tone was firm. Sigh. What a pity. All right, then the old man won't force you. The old man did not insist. He was very clear that such a young genius was extremely determined, and once he made a decision, it would be difficult to change it. However, when he stood up, the old man suddenly said, "Little brother, if you're willing to join a sect, the Flying Shadow sect welcomes you at any time." Thank you senior. I have no plans to join any sect at the moment. While the old man was looking for others, Chen Hao was afraid of meeting another enthusiastic expert, so he directly left the tavern. At the same time, he retracted his aura, and aimlessly strolled around Tianyu City. After waiting for another hour, Chen Hao finally took out the soul helmet that he had not used for 2 years. Beep beep beep. Beep beep beep. After stepping into the second world and appearing in Yang City, continuous beeping sounds appeared in Chen Hao's mind. However, most of them were sent when he was in the chaotic space and Long Ting did not contact him. More than 10 were sent by Immortal Venerable Han Mei and Immortal Venerable Yun Wei, and more than 10 were sent by Senior Brother Gu Chen. There was also one that did not have a contact number and only showed a message from the headquarters of the Vast Universe Star Alliance. Chapter 650. Congratulations on obtaining the qualification to enter the primitive mystic realm. The number of rogue cultivators tested this time, 1085694523. The number of people who passed the test, 238542316. Your ranking in the Rogue Cultivator test, 11563. Departure time, asterisk 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 year, asterisk 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 month, asterisk asterisk day. Departure location, Alliance Center, East Flow City, Vast Universe Star. You have obtained the position of the leader of a 10,000-man team in East Flow City, Vast Universe Star. Do you accept? No way. Chen Hao took the lead to open the information of the Vast Universe Star Alliance. After seeing the specific data, his eyes widened. More than 1 billion cultivators participated in the test, more than 200 million passed the test. I actually ranked 11,563. Chen Hao was surprised. Although he knew his results were definitely good, he didn't expect it to be so good. After all, he was only at the initial stage of the human celestial stage. What kind of people participated in the test? At least 99% of them were at the peak of the advanced stage of the Earth's celestial stage, and many of them were very old. Although such people didn't have much talent, they were imprisoned at the peak of the advanced stage of the Earth's celestial stage for a very long time. Their combat power and combat skills were definitely refined to the perfection stage. But he was ranked 11,563 at the initial stage of the Earth's celestial stage. It was somewhat beyond Chen Hao's expectations. Phew. This at least proves that my Dao is not only the most compatible with my Dao, but it is also a very powerful Dao. Ha, ha. I'm not interested in being the leader of a 10,000-man team. Chen Hao directly rejected the position conferred by the headquarters of the Vast Universe Star Alliance. He was used to being a lone ranger. He had no interest in such a small position and didn't covet the benefits that it could bring. In terms of strength, he couldn't compare with some real geniuses at the peak of the advanced stage of the Earth's celestial stage. But in terms of possible gains, Chen Hao believed that few could compare with him. How could he be such a small position and tie him down? Immediately, according to the chronological order, he clicked on the messages one by one. Seeing the boring messages that Long Ting sent when she couldn't contact him, Chen Hao's face showed a smile. He could imagine how tormented this girl was at that time. After reading a few more messages from senior brother Gu Chen, Chen Hao was slightly surprised. They were all about the situation on the Wuji planet. Although he hadn't used the Spirit Realm helmet in the past 2 years, he still understood the situation on the Wuji star. What he was worried about did not happen. Guan Nanchao and Lu Qingyang managed the Wuji star decently. However, at that time, Chen Hao thought that it was because of eldest senior brother and second senior brother. But now, after reading the message left by Gu Chen, it turned out that it was not because of them, but because of Guan Nanchao and Lu Qingyang's initiative to change. Chen Hao was puzzled. Gu Chen's words also confused him. He had thought that the other party was up to something, but 2 years had passed, and nothing had happened. Gu Chen's last message surprised Chen Hao even more. It turned out that Guan Nanchao and Lu Qingyang had let Chen Hao return to the Wuji planet. They also apologized and explained why they had expelled him and Heavenly Master Yuanru from the Wuji planet. At the same time, they also said that 2 of the 10 places in the primitive secret realm were given to Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei. Finally, they asked Chen Hao to contact him. There was not much news about Senior Immortal Han Mei and Senior Immortal Yun Wei. The reason was that they could not enter the second world at any time. The content was also worried about Chen Hao's inquiry. They also told Chen Hao about the situation of his sister, brother, and the members of the Proud Heavens, telling him not to worry about them. It was like a letter written by parents to their children who were wandering outside. It made Chen Hao feel warm in his heart. The last message was sent before Gu Chen led the team into the chaotic space. It also told Chen Hao not to worry about them. They entered the primitive secret realm just to break through their realms, and there would be no danger. So it's senior brother leading the team. No wonder they didn't enter the second world, since the change in Guan Nanchao and Lu Qingyang was not because of senior brother and second senior brother, then why? It's a little strange. Chen Hao pondered over the information he had received, but he still did not understand. After all, when Guan Nanchao and Lu Qingyang took the position, there was something fishy, and they must have betrayed the interests of the Wuji planet. But now, the other party's explanation seemed to be completely for the sake of the Wuji planet. If he analyzed it carefully, it seemed to make sense. Was this possible? As long as he had a brain, he would definitely not believe it. Gu Chen did not believe it, and neither did Chen Hao. But the fact was, they did not reveal anything. Chen Hao could not figure it out and could only give up for the time being. After leaving the second world, Chen Hao went directly to the transmission center of the Alliance. However, he still did not go to the mysterious ice domain. Instead, he changed to another city. He wanted to wait for senior brother Gu Chen to contact before leaving. 5 days later, Chen Hao's fake identity was verified by senior brother Gu Chen, senior immortal Han Mei, and senior immortal Yun Wei. Finally, the contact was completed. After not seeing each other for 2 years, the appearance of senior immortal Han Mei and senior immortal Yuan Ru, especially the signs of aging on their temples, made Chen Hao feel very uncomfortable. He knew very well that at their age, this should not happen. The reason for this must be that the situation with him and the girls had greatly affected their mood, and the reason why senior brother Gu Chen wanted to contact him was nothing important. As a senior brother, he wanted to warn his junior brother about what to be careful of and what to pay attention to after entering the primitive secret realm. He must not take risks because of the pressure of the 10-year battle. Chen Hao knew what to do without senior brother Gu Chen's reminder. Phew, Chen Hao let out a long sigh of relief. Before leaving the second world, he transferred the balance of the 2 anonymous wealth cards to senior immortal Han Mei and senior immortal Yun Wei's wealth cards. This was the only thing he could do now. Although the equipment provided by the Wuji star would not be inferior to those refined by Chen Hao, the consumables, precious elixirs, runes, and other things that could enhance one's strength were definitely not enough. Chen Hao told his eldest senior brother Gu Chen that he believed that the number of immortal core crystals he transferred would allow his 2 masters to receive treatment that was not inferior to that of the disciples of the top sects on the Yang planet. It would more or less improve their strength. Half a year is enough for me to return from my training in the mysterious ice domain. Let's go. Chi. Chen Hao directly turned into a stream of light and sped toward the transmission center of the Alliance. The opening time of the primitive secret realm was about a year later, but the departure time was half a year later. In other words, Chen Hao still had half a year to improve his strength. Half a year was basically negligible for an ordinary Earth celestial stage expert, but it was precious for Chen Hao. At the very least, Chen Hao had to improve to the peak of the initial stage of the Earth celestial stage. 5 days ago, 2 days after Long Ting and Chen Hao had last contacted each other. Vast universe star, vast universe city, sacred palace. Towering into the clouds, a huge palace exuded a colorful glow. It covered an area of tens of thousands of miles. This was just a palace. Every inch of the surface of the palace was covered with mysterious and complicated golden runes. Any cultivator who stepped into vast universe city would be able to see the towering palace that seemed to be connected to the 9th heaven. They would not be able to see the whole picture at a glance. They would also be able to sense the ancient and magnificent aura that it exuded and the pressure that made people prostrate themselves in worship. This was vast universe sacred palace. The sacred palace that symbolized the highest authority and the strongest force of the human race. The majestic sacred palace had a total of 9,999 floors. Each floor was comparable to a small planet, but the world's spirit energy and heavenly Tao laws contained within was not something that any small planet could compare with. Moreover, the cultivators who had the qualifications to step into it were absolutely the peak existences of the vast universe star system, or the future disciples of the sacred palace that symbolized the vast universe star system. But besides the master of the vast universe star system, the supreme leader of the human race, and the strongest powerhouses, no one could casually enter. If one wanted to enter, they would need to take out enough human contribution points in exchange for a certain amount of time. But now, in front of the sacred palace's gates, there were tens of thousands of extremely young but extremely powerful Earth celestial stage experts. From the initial stage to the peak of the late stage, there were countless handsome men and beautiful women. They were tall, short, fat, thin, and even grotesquely shaped. But if any of them went outside, they would definitely be a conspicuous existence. Every single one of them was enveloped by an extremely dense karmic luck that couldn't be seen or touched, and the aura they emitted far exceeded their cultivation realms. In particular, the young experts at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage would be overshadowed by an ordinary celestial stage expert. These were the Earth's celestial stage disciples of the vast universe sacred palace, the disciples who symbolized the most talented of the human race. Tens of thousands of young Earth celestial stage geniuses stood neatly in 8 square formations. Each formation had thousands of people. Those standing at the front were at the peak of the late stage of the Earth's celestial stage, and those at the back were at the initial stage of the Earth's celestial stage. In the last few rows of one of the formations, 2 figures stood there. Although their auras did not have any advantage over the surrounding disciples, when they stood next to each other, they attracted a lot of attention. Humph! Humph! Their gazes were full of enmity, as though they were incompatible as fire and water. One snorted coldly, while the other snorted coldly twice. Neither of them took the other seriously. Although their talents were only in the middle range among the new disciples of the temple, they were both rare beauties, each with their own unique characteristics. This caused the surrounding young disciples to more or less focus their attention on the 2 of them. These 2 were the genius girls from the Ya-ing planet, Long Ting and Bailey Ningbing. Is East Flow City fun? This time, Long Ting took the initiative to stand beside Bailey Ningbing. Since she had been followed last time, she had not had the chance to see Bailey Ningbing. Now that they met, she naturally had to taunt her. She spoke indifferently. Humph. Ha ha ha. It doesn't seem that fun, right? I heard that a certain girl was. Shut up. You dare to do it, so why are you afraid of others talking about it? You deserve to be trampled on. Humph, next time you dare to follow me, I'll teach you a lesson. I'll trample on you in the same way he did. Long Ting had a devilish smile on her face. She looked directly at Bailey Ningbing, her eyes full of mockery, as if she knew the situation of the battle between Chen Hao and Bailey Ningbing. 3rd update. Please recommend it. Chapter 651. You dare. Shameless. I won't let you go, and I definitely won't let him go. Just you wait. How could Bailey Ningbing, who was already feeling extremely humiliated, withstand Long Ting's provocation? Especially when she heard Long Ting say, the same way as him, she was even more embarrassed and furious, and wished she could immediately fight it out with Long Ting. That was being stripped naked. What could be more ruthless than that kind of humiliation? Ha ha ha. Your face is red. Actually, I only heard a little about it. I don't know exactly how he ravaged you and then let you go. Can you tell me about it? Long Ting was still laughing like a demon as she sent a voice transmission. Long Ting was very curious about this question. Chen Hao letting Bailey Ningbing go was reasonable, not to mention Bailey Ningbing's identity as a temple disciple. Chen Hao couldn't kill her, even if she wasn't a temple disciple. Long Ting was sure Chen Hao couldn't do it. Because, she was clear about the grudge between Bailey Ningbing and Chen Hao, and with Chen Hao's character, he definitely didn't have a reason to kill her. But Long Ting was also clear that Chen Hao definitely wouldn't let Bailey Ningbing off so easily. He would at least teach her a lesson, or even humiliate her. And this was what Long Ting was curious about. How would he teach her a lesson? How would he humiliate her? A woman's intuition was very frightening. Chen Hao's avoidance of the topic made Long Ting feel that something was fishy. And now, Bailey Ningbing's incomparably red face and anger made her faintly guess that it definitely had something to do with it. This wasn't because Long Ting was evil, but because Long Ting was clear that the grudge between the 2 of them was originally the feelings between a man and a woman, and Bailey Ningbing was the kind of woman who was extreme to the point of madness. Long Ting believed that if just relying on violence, it would be impossible to make this woman soften up, let alone submit. Then, to Chen Hao, it seemed that the only way to vent his anger was to slap the other party's face in the aspect of unable to get what he wanted. Boom. Bailey Ningbing's aura suddenly became sharp like a sword, and she glared at Long Ting as she transmitted her voice, "Don't force me. Everyone." At this moment, the old man who had been seated in the air at the entrance of the sacred hall, surrounded by multicolored light and radiating with endless might and pressure, finally spoke. This was one of the supreme elders of the divine temple, the supreme king, Yi Kuangdao. The supreme king, as the name suggested, was the king of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, a true master. Ordinary Hongmeng supremes would not be able to withstand a single blow from him. In fact, after reaching the Daluo Golden Wonderland, the difference in combat power between people in the same realm was like heaven and earth. This was related to one's Dao, as well as one's battle skills, unique skills, and experience that had been condensed over countless years. And Yi Kuangdao was undoubtedly one of the top powerhouses of the human race. His strength was no weaker than the masters of the top sects of the vast universe galaxy. His reputation and status would be even higher. Of course, this was because he was a great elder of the temple. The faint voice was gentle and kind, but with just 2 words, it caused the tens of thousands of people to become silent. They all gathered their thoughts and put on a respectful and attentive look. Even Long Ting and Bailey Ningbing, who were secretly fighting, hurriedly turned around and stood at attention, looking forward and holding their breaths. I believe everyone knows about the primal mystic realm, and you should also be aware of its importance. The last time an Earth celestial level primal mystic realm appeared was 4,340,000 years ago. At that time, our human race had 430 million Earth celestial level cultivators who entered, and less than 300 million came out. The death rate was quite terrifying. Even our divine temple had more than 1,000 disciples fall inside. The cruelty is undeniable. This is not only a competition for inheritance opportunities, ancient treasures, unique skills, and ancient spiritual herbs, but also a competition between the Earth's celestial level powerhouses of the 10 major galaxies. I hope that after entering, all of you will put the human race's interests as your core. Only when everyone was able to do this would they be able to unite and reduce the number of deaths, and they would also be able to obtain more. Our human race is one of the 10 major galaxies, and we are not inferior to any of them. Even if it is the powerful insect clan, we are not afraid. However, this refers to the peak power of the human race, not you. The peak powerhouses of the human race can be said to be the strongest in the 10 major galaxies. However, in the Daluo Golden Wonderland, including Daluo Jinxian's level, we are indeed weaker. This is because of our natural bloodline restrictions, and there is no way to change this. Only when we surpass the Daluo Golden Wonderland and truly break free from the natural bloodline restrictions can the human race's advantage be highlighted. The reason why the old man said all this is to tell you not to be careless just because you are a disciple of the divine temple and a peak genius of the human race. The other 9 major galaxies have more Earth celestial level geniuses than we do, and their overall strength is also stronger than ours. Even if you are the strongest powerhouse here, it is not impossible for you to fall. Therefore, in the next 6 months, we will provide you with the greatest support. The Divine Temple will allow you to obtain contribution points in advance and open it to you. Do your best to increase your combat power. At the same time, all the teachers of the 8 great halls of the Divine Temple will be on standby at all times. We will try our best to satisfy any cultivation questions or needs you have. At the same time, each of you can borrow a divine artifact. Whoosh! As the Grand Supreme Elder of the Divine Temple spoke, the geniuses who were originally solemn finally became excited and burst into an uproar. Tens of thousands of people, and each of them could borrow a divine artifact. What kind of concept was that? Although everyone present knew that the Divine Temple was powerful, they did not expect the Divine Temple to be so powerful. What kind of divine artifact you can get depends on your luck. In addition, every 10 days, you will enter the second world for 1 day of training. The training will be about treasure hunting, treasure snatching, cultivation, combat, and other aspects of the primitive mystic realm. Each of you will be the leader of a group of cultivators. I will inform you of the specific arrangements when the time comes. Now, all of you will enter the 10th square in the second world's divine temple and begin the treasure hunt. The auras of 100,000 divine artifacts will appear at the same time. The one you capture will be distributed to you according to its number. Those you capture will immediately come out of the second world and collect them from the old man. Then, choose the level of the divine temple that you want to enter and begin your cultivation. Begin. Yes. Hiss 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 hiss. Boom 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 boom. Tens of thousands of geniuses in the Earth's celestial stage gathered their auras and entered the second world. After becoming a disciple of the divine temple, everyone present would be bound to the divine temple when they entered the second world. Long Ting and Bailey Ning Bing were no exception. After everyone appeared in the second world, they immediately rushed to the 10th square. In just a few minutes, everyone present appeared in the 10th square in the second world's divine temple. It was also at this moment that the endless space suddenly darkened. Afterwards, streaks of resplendent meteors appeared above everyone. Every single meteor possessed a profound and strange aura. There were a total of 100,000 of them. There was no obvious difference in strength between these 100,000 auras. Only different mysteries were contained within them. Obviously, based on the aura alone, no one could determine what the divine artifact was and how it was compared to the others. Therefore, no one made a move at the beginning. Instead, they focused all of their attention and carefully sensed the auras in the sky. That's what I want. Mine. That's what I want. Chi chi chi. After a full 2 minutes, someone finally made the first move. Then, one figure after another soared into the sky and chased after the aura that made them excited, eager, and needed. There was a phenomenon of people fighting over the same thing, but it was rare. This was because everyone needed different things. In a situation where one couldn't determine the strength of the aura, the choice depended on fate. However, it was unknown whether it was because Long Ting and Bailey Ning Bing were sworn enemies or because they both wanted the same thing. The moment they soared into the sky, they closed in on each other and chased after the same light. You want to snatch it from me? He he he. You can't snatch it from me. Chi chi. Rumble. In the second world, the two people who had no scruples made a move. They were clearly fighting over the ownership of a divine artifact, but their words sounded completely different to the other party's ears. Bailey Ning Bing directly activated her immortal sword intent to the limit, determined to kill Long Ting. On the other hand, Long Ting, who was bare-handed, had an extremely powerful physical strength surging around her. She wasn't afraid at all. For a moment, it was difficult for anyone to obtain that light. However, Long Ting's absolute strength gave her a certain advantage. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Long Ting would be the one to obtain it in the end. However, just as Long Ting was about to succeed, a large hand that covered the sky abruptly appeared. The surging and unfathomable power made Long Ting feel like a lone boat that had sunk into the surging waves of the ocean. Although it did not have any destructive power, it made Long Ting unable to control herself and she was directly sent flying. At this moment, Bailey Ning Bing reached out and grabbed the light in her hand. Bailey Ning Bing snorted coldly and complacently at the furious and displeased Long Ting, and then a wisp of a smile actually appeared on her face. She looked at the young man that slowly descended by her side and said, "Thank you, Senior Brother Sui Feng, you're welcome." The youth smiled lightly, and then he looked at the furious Long Ting and said, "Junior sister, Senior Brother has no intention to offend you. The profundity contained within this aura is obviously suitable for the immortal sword Dao. Junior sister Ning Bing is more suitable. You should choose something else. If someone tries to snatch it, Senior Brother can help you obtain it as compensation." The youth was still smiling gently, and his gaze towards Long Ting didn't contain any hostility. Conversely, it concealed a trace of burning passion. Of course, he wouldn't let Bailey Ning Bing see this trace of burning passion. Unfortunately, Long Ting only glared fiercely at him before looking towards Bailey Ning Bing. That was undisguised contempt and disdain. It was a gaze and expression that had never appeared on Long Ting's face since she and Bailey Ningbing went head to head. With just a glance, Long Ting caught another stream of light without saying a word and chased after it. Fourth update, looking for recommendation votes, come to vote. Chapter 652. Bailey Ningbing's expression froze for a moment, but then a ferocious and crazy look flashed across her face. She threw the last trace of shame to the back of her mind, and it was replaced by boundless jealousy and monstrous hatred. So what if she didn't rely on her own strength? As long as she could take revenge on him, everything was worth it. Before she comprehended the immortal law, she firmly believed that one day, she would be able to trample Chen Hao under her feet. At that time, she thought of using her capital to borrow the strength of someone more powerful than Chen Hao. After she comprehended the immortal law, she had abandoned the idea of borrowing the strength of others. Especially after she became a disciple of the Sage Hall, she wanted to use her own strength to completely trample Chen Hao under her feet. That was the only way to be satisfied. But, the last time they met, she was humiliated by Chen Hao, but it made her realize that with her own strength, the possibility of taking revenge on Chen Hao was too small, close to none. Not to mention Chen Hao, even Long Ting was stronger than her for the time being. How could she take revenge on him? Because of this, after she returned last time, she used her beauty and talent to date this young man. This young man was the most dazzling genius of the everlasting sect, Moling Takshu. He entered the Sage Hall 10 years ago, and now he was at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. He was ranked in the top 10 of the Earth's celestial stage in the Sage Hall. He had unlimited potential and a future. Moreover, she could make use of him in this trip to the primitive mystic area. With such a top master of the Earth's celestial stage by her side, she would gain a lot. Of course, she also knew that it was not easy to conquer such a genius. Based on what Moling Takshu had said to Long Ting, she could tell that although this young man was biased towards her, the extent of his bias was very limited. It was far from the point where he would pursue her wholeheartedly. They had known each other for a while, and they were both disciples of the everlasting sect. That was why Moling Takshu helped her. Whoosh, 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 the sky was filled with snowflakes dancing in the bone-chilling wind, and the world was white. Cold. It was extremely cold. Even if a cultivator of the human celestial stage came here, he would be frozen into an ice sculpture. Even his primordial spirit and true core strength would be frozen. Rumble, within the raging violent winds, intense sounds of explosions occasionally sounded out, and it caused the heavens and the earth to tremble violently. Snow mountains collapsed, and numerous icy blue pieces of solid ice were lifted up and covered the heavens and the earth. Even if it was a cultivator at the earthly immortal realm, they could only dodge when they encountered this sort of trembling of the heavens and the earth that could be seen at any time. This was one of the treasured training grounds of vast universe stars Earth immortal realm cultivators, the profound ice domain. Chi! A crack suddenly appeared in space, and a figure stepped out. He was dressed in a black robe and wore a black bamboo hat. Even the black translucent veil could not hide his sharp eyes. Phew, this is only the edge of the profound ice domain, and it's already so cold. At least 3 layers of profound ice, right? Indeed, it's not a place that ordinary cultivators of the human celestial stage can come to. Putting away his bamboo hat, Chen Hao stared at the boundless sea of snow, feeling the bone-chilling cold. His powerful soul perception also spread out, merging into the world. When all the earthly immortals were in an uproar because of the primitive mystic realm, they were either in seclusion or looking for cooperation to make their final efforts for the departure in half a year. Chen Hao's heart was as calm as still water. The drifting snowflakes and the bone-chilling cold did not cause any discomfort. Instead, it made Chen Hao feel that his soul was refreshed. He opened his hand and gently brushed it, catching the white crystal snowflakes in his hand. Stepping on the thick snow and facing the raging wind, Chen Hao walked slowly toward the depths of the profound ice domain. He did not activate any energy. He was like the most ordinary person who was sightseeing the snowy scenery. He was relaxed and enjoyed the scenery that belonged purely to nature. This was his Tao. Tao followed nature. Ever since he was able to enter the state of, I am the world, and the world is me, at any time, Chen Hao's state of mind had undergone a subtle change. Time and time again, to him, the most important thing was no longer fighting, nor killing, nor was it the bloody tempering that lingered between life and death. Instead, it was immersing himself in all things in the world and touching the most fundamental throbbing of the world, a world in a grain of sand, a bodhi in a leaf. Only by truly merging with nature could one comprehend the mysteries of nature. This was his experience. As cold as the moon, Helian Wuzi's little face unconsciously appeared in Chen Hao's mind. The corners of his mouth curved into a faint smile. This feeling was very good. If at this moment, little Wu was still by my side, it would naturally be better. Unfortunately, Chen Hao shook his head. Along the way, the things that should be forgotten were no longer remembered. The things that should be left behind were engraved in his heart. Every time he merged with heaven and earth, it would always be accompanied by his past experiences, emotions, people or things. The more it was like this, the more clearly Chen Hao felt that whether it was due to pressure or in order to pursue the peak of martial arts, in his hurried steps, the things that he left behind that could touch his heart were all the more precious. Because they were pitifully few. Chen Hao did not know whether this was because he only knew how to cherish it after comprehending the Tao, or it was originally not the life he wanted. But, no matter what, now he clearly understood that only by truly merging life and cultivation as one, would it be in line with his Tao. The Tao of nature. The Tao was neither too fast nor too slow. In the sky full of snow and ice, Chen Hao, who was dressed in black, was gradually dyed white by the fluttering snowflakes. Just like his heart, he merged with heaven and earth, on one of the 9,999 floors of the Divine Temple. 6 figures were in 5 separate spaces. 2 of them were in the same space. These 6 figures were here before the disciples of the Divine Temple entered. To be exact, nearly 2 years ago, except for when they had to use their real bodies to experience the Tao and trigger the divine punishment, they were basically here. Even the staff at the entrance of the Divine Temple did not know of their existence. This was the Divine Temple of the human clan. Even the disciples of the Divine Temple who wanted to enter and cultivate usually had to use human clan contribution points to exchange for it. Who could enter and exit the Divine Temple that symbolized the highest level of the human clan without anyone knowing? These 6 figures, who had just stepped into the Earth's celestial stage, naturally could not do it. Obviously, it was someone else. Moreover, even these 6 figures did not know where they were. They only knew that this was the compensation for losing 10 years of freedom, the compensation for enjoying the treatment of the disciples of the Divine Temple. They were not disciples of the Divine Temple, so they did not know what kind of treatment the disciples of the Divine Temple had. But they knew that their cultivation was advancing rapidly at every moment. They did not even dare to think about it before. Even now, they found it hard to believe, but it was a fact. They were advancing at a speed that was unimaginable. Half a year passed in a hurry. Vast universe star, East Stream City. On this day, a young man at the peak of the initial stage of the Earth's celestial stage walked out of the teleportation center slowly and blended into the endless stream of people. Wherever he passed, the cultivators who saw this young man, except for being surprised that he could reach the peak of the initial stage of the Earth's celestial stage at such a young age and his extraordinarily handsome appearance, did not feel anything special. At least, the cultivators at the Earth's celestial stage did not feel threatened at all. This young man was Chen Hao, who had just returned from the mysterious ice realm. At this moment, he did not change his aura, appearance, or figure. He was the real him. He did not deliberately hide or deliberately show off. He was the most natural him. If it was half a year ago, if he appeared in the crowd in this state, then it would not be a simple side glance, it would be shock and a sensation. Because at that time, if he didn't hide it, then the strength of his aura alone was comparable to the peak of the Earth's celestial stage. Moreover, he was not an ordinary expert at the peak of the Earth's celestial stage. But now, in his natural state, he had lost all of his extraordinary sharpness. It could be said that he was too ordinary on his original foundation. Was he weaker than before? That was impossible. He had only turned, I am the heavens and the earth, and the heavens and the earth are me, into a basic state, and it was the most ordinary state like breathing. If he was compared to a peerless sword, then now was the moment when the sword returned to its sheath and restrained all of its light. But this sheath was his body, his state of mind, and his Tao. So long as he was willing, when he unsheathed the sword, it would be the moment when his fierce and extraordinary aura would be fully revealed. This was not a concealment technique, but a return to simplicity of the great Tao. Phew, this feeling is really good. Only the true self is the great freedom. Low-key or high-profile, they are all fog, fetters, and demonic barriers on the way to the peak of the great Tao. No matter when, no matter where, no matter what I encounter, only when I face it with my true self can I always be clear of my heart, see my nature, and keep my spirit and chi. Swish! A ray of light flashed between his eyebrows. After half a year, Qin Hao finally entered the second world again, and he entered with his real identity. As expected, he did not receive any information about his real identity. Whether it was Long Ting, Long Yi, eldest senior brother Gu Chen, or the two masters, they all knew that Qin Hao would not enter with his real identity again. Moreover, they did not dare to send any information about his real identity. However, in half a year, Qin Hao, whose state of mind and cultivation had undergone a transformation, directly chose to enter with his true body. Moreover, from now on, he would be himself and would no longer be anyone else, nor would he disguise himself as anyone else. Everything would be natural. Of course, after setting off for the primitive mystery land, he could not hide his real identity. Beep, 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 Qin Hao sent a short message to Long Ting, Long Yi, eldest senior brother Gu Chen, and the two masters, telling them that his real identity was online. In the law enforcement hall of the Alliance Center, Yang City, the second world. Beep, 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 It has locked onto Qin Hao. Ah. Where is he? The location confirmed by the signal is the East Stream City of the vast universe star. Phew. Half a year ago, when the results of the test for the Earth's celestial stage came out, he entered the second world, which was in Tianyu City. Today, half a year later, when we were about to set off for the primitive mystery land, he appeared again. It seems that, as we have estimated, he has advanced to the Earth's celestial stage, and he has obtained the qualification to enter the primitive mystery land. It should be. This guy is really not simple. It is incredible that he has advanced to the Earth's celestial stage in such a short time, and he was able to pass the test. That is to say, whether he is at the medium stage or the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage, he has the strength of an ordinary genius at the peak of the later stage of the Earth's celestial stage. Moreover, he has a good magic treasure. Chapter 653. That's right. His disappearance for 2 years could be said to be without the support of any providence. He really didn't know how this kid's strength had increased so quickly. We'll see what happens in the primitive mystic realm. It'll be best if he dies there. However, if he gets a great opportunity, I'm afraid we'll have to pay a price for the battle 7.5 years later. Yes. That's true. When the time comes, the law enforcement hall might have to bleed. The hall master asked the higher-ups. Although the Divine Temple cares about such a genius, they won't disrespect the Asianing Star Alliance because of him. The battle won't be cancelled, but they won't let us mess around. However, the law enforcement hall is already involved in this matter. There's no turning back. When the time comes, the Valley of Happiness will bleed, and we'll have to work behind the scenes. Alright, let's report this to the hall master and the Valley of Happiness, although the possibility of encountering him is close to zero. Yes. For the Earth's celestial realm's primitive mystic realm, the number of cultivators from the vast universe galaxy, independent cultivators, large factions, and large sects added up to 500 million. The other 9 galaxies also had 500 million according to the agreement. In addition to the number of cultivators from other galaxies, there were close to 10 billion cultivators. Although the primitive mystic realm was huge, one could imagine the chaos after 10 billion cultivators poured in. The chances of killing Chen Hao in the middle of it were close to zero. Beep. 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 Chen Hao. Why are you here with your real body? Venerable Han Mei and Venerable Yun Wei were pleasantly surprised to see Chen Hao again, but they were also worried and puzzled. Junior brother. Eldest senior brother Gu Chen looked calm as he stared at Chen Hao's image with sparkling eyes. After Chen Hao sent out the message, the three of them applied for communication and formed a team mode. Master, senior brother, don't worry. Even if they find me, they won't have time to rush to Vast Universe Star's East Flow City. Even if they come, what can they do to me in the city? Besides, we're about to set off. Don't worry. But they know you're in East Flow City. If they go through East Flow City and enter the primitive mystic realm, is it possible to communicate with the outside world in the primitive mystic realm? Junior brother. You haven't reported yet, have you? Upon hearing Chen Hao's words, Gu Chen asked directly. I've just returned to East Flow City. I'm about to go. Chen Hao said. No wonder you don't know. It's like this, after Gu Chen explained it to Chen Hao understood what was going on. As it turned out, every 100 people formed a small group. 10 small groups formed a small team of 1,000 people. 10 small teams formed a large team of 10,000 people. 10 large teams formed a regiment of 10,000 people. 10 regiments formed a division of 1,000,000 people. 10 divisions formed an army of 10 million people. This army was called a legion. The 36 main planets of the vast universe galaxy like the Yang planet could form 36 legions with a total of 360 million Earth celestial stage cultivators. Of course, the number of people was not strictly limited to 10 million. It was possible to have more or less. However, the fluctuation would not exceed 1 million. The vast universe galaxy was the core of the vast universe galaxy. According to the cities and top forces, there were 14 legions. Every cultivator in each of the 50 legions would receive the legion's identity token. According to rank, they could be divided into ordinary tokens, team leader and vice team leader 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 tokens. There were a total of 5,002 positions above team leader and vice team leader. These positions were held by the 5,002 strongest cultivators in the vast universe temple with the best overall ability. Those below team leader and vice team leader might not necessarily be disciples of the temple. The higher the level of the token, the greater the range and ability of the mysterious communication. The highest level of team leader and vice team leader tokens was a supreme grade divine artifact. It could transmit the situation in the primitive mystic realm to outside the primitive mystic realm at any time, and it was a passive transmission. There was no need for human intervention. Similarly, ordinary team members in the primitive mystic realm would be passively transmitted to the closest team leader token within range. Any team leader token would do. There was no need to specify a team leader token. The only condition was that there was a team leader and vice team leader within the range. And the information obtained from the team leader token would be automatically transmitted to the team leader, and would be transmitted level by level, until the entire situation was transmitted to the information center of the vast universe galaxy, and then it would be synchronized with the second world. This meant that in the second world, any division of the alliance would be able to obtain the situation of the primitive mystic realm cultivators at any time. No wonder so many experts are looking for partners to invest, Chen Hao thought to himself. Originally, when he saw so many experts looking for disciples to invest in the primitive mystic realm, he did not quite understand. After all, even though they had signed a contract, what the cultivator obtained in the primitive mystic realm, wasn't it just a matter of a word from him? You could not take out the things in his mind. This was fine for people who were loyal and trustworthy. If they were not trustworthy, there was nothing they could do, but now, Chen Hao understood that these investors would be able to observe the situation of the person they invested in at any time. Even if the cultivator was temporarily outside the range of the high-grade token, the effective information stored within would be sent out after reaching the range of the token. There was no chance to hide it. It was not something that could be avoided by throwing away the token. This was because the token would be directly embedded into one's primordial spirit. Ha! Senior brother, master, it's all right. After entering the primitive mystic realm, if they dare to come, I'm confident that they won't be able to return. They are only at the Earth's celestial stage, there are not many who can threaten me. Master, on the other hand. After entering, just focus on cultivating. You don't have to fight for anything, I don't want any accidents to happen. Leave the rest to me. We know our own strength, just take care of yourself, don't worry about us. Venerable Celestial Han Mei and Venerable Celestial Yun Wei did not find anything wrong with Chen Hao's words. Although their former disciple was only at the initial stage of the Earth's celestial stage, which was lower than their cultivation stage, his strength was not something that they could estimate. Especially when they heard Chen Hao's confident words, they understood that Chen Hao's current combat strength had probably reached a rather terrifying level. This was because based on their understanding of Chen Hao would never be full of himself. Otherwise, how could they have witnessed so many miracles in the past? After cutting off contact with Gu Chen and the other two, he still did not receive a reply from Long Ting and Long Yi. Chen Hao knew that the two of them should still be cultivating and training in seclusion. After all, as a disciple of the Divine Temple, Long Ting's strength was at least at the position of a captain of 10,000 people. Long Yi, as a top genius of the Death Door sect, could at least be a captain of 1,000 people or a vice-captain of 10,000 people. He was not as free as a small soldier. Taking a deep breath, Chen Hao's handsome face shone with a natural arrogance, and he walked toward the center of the alliance in East Flow City. After obtaining the information from Gu Chen, Chen Hao, who was about to return to his true self, did not have the slightest scruple. On the contrary, his heart was filled with the hot-bloodedness and heroism that a young man should have. After disappearing for 2 years, even though Chen Hao's improvement was shocking, and his combat strength had increased by leaps and bounds, it wasn't that he didn't notice that he could only obtain the most basic things from his repeated experiences, and it was completely based on his own strength, comprehension ability, and hard work. Not to mention a great opportunity, he hadn't even encountered a small opportunity. This was normal for ordinary cultivators, but for a top monstrous genius like Chen Hao who was enveloped in karmic luck, it was very abnormal. At the very least, he should have discovered some decent spiritual items of heaven and earth, right? No, he had not encountered anything. This made Chen Hao understand that luck, the most mysterious thing in the world, was always playing a role. He, who had concealed his identity and disappeared without a trace, had lost the people's hearts, and thus lost his luck. Now, he wanted to restore his true self and regain his luck. And now, this primal mystic realm that had attracted the attention of the entire cultivation world was undoubtedly the best opportunity. Then, let the storm come even fiercer. Let my friends and family rejoice because of me, shrouding me in luck. Let my enemies fear me because of me, a storm is coming. Let the heavens and earth move because of me, dance with the wind and clouds, rule the world, shake the universe. S.I. The blood that had been silent for over 2 years began to burn once more. The fighting spirit that had been suppressed for over 2 years began to surge once more. Like a sword leaving its sheath, like a dragon leaving its abyss. As Chen Hao slowly walked forwards, his aura became sharper with every step he took, until the sharpness of his aura was completely revealed. The crowd was in an uproar. At this moment, everyone was shocked by Chen Hao's sudden surge in aura. Even Chen Hao himself could not sense it, nor could he sense it. Above the highest heavens, because Chen Hao had completely opened his mind, the winds and clouds began to gather, creating a myriad of phenomena. But, In the center of East Flow City's alliance, the Supreme Masters of Hongmeng as well as the Supreme Masters of East Flow City's top sects, whether they were meditating or doing something, all of them revealed looks of surprise as they looked towards the void. At the same time, the powerful divine senses that only belonged to the Masters of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm pierced through the void, blooming outwards. They looked towards the highest heavens, a phantom that even Daluo Jingxian couldn't catch. Golden scale transforming into dragon. Nearly in unison, dozens of Grand Mist Supremacy Realm Masters spat out these words. They were filled with shock, disbelief, and even endless curiosity. Who is it? Who can actually trigger the phenomenon of a golden scale transforming into a dragon? CSISI. Immediately after, several figures rushed out of their palaces and flew into the sky above East Flow City. Boundless and terrifying divine senses instantly spread out, capturing the auras they were searching for. Golden scale is not a pond creature. Once it encounters the winds and clouds, it will transform into a dragon. The phenomenon of a golden scale transforming into a dragon was something that was rarely seen in East Flow City in a million years. It had to be known that although East Flow City was only a small city on Vast Universe Star, it was still Vast Universe Star, the strongest planet of the entire human race. The number of Masters of the Grand Mist Supremacy Realm could instantly kill the total number of Masters on Vast Universe Star's 36 main planets. If such a phenomenon was rarely seen in a million years in such a place, then what about the Asianing planet? Chapter 654. Perhaps there wouldn't even be one in thousands of years. Those who could trigger the phenomenon of a golden scale transforming into a dragon must be the most outstanding talents in the world, who could stir up the winds and clouds and lead the tide of an era. This had nothing to do with one's cultivation stage. Even a cultivator in the human celestial stage could trigger it. However, those who could trigger the golden scale transforming into a dragon, as long as there was no irresistible mutation, would definitely grow to a terrifying extent. This was because only outstanding figures of the same generation who had great luck, great aptitude, great comprehension, great perseverance, great wisdom, and so on, could trigger it. This was the tide of an era. A figure who could stir up the winds and clouds. Amidst an uproar of praise, East Flow City's #1 genius girl, the goddess in the hearts of countless young cultivators, had been born with a golden spoon in her mouth. Moreover, she dared to name herself East Flow, East Flow. Pan Dong Flow was a little immature, not too beautiful, but full of charm. Her charming face was filled with a bright smile, with a trace of a girl's blush due to shyness, which made her look even more beautiful and moving. Her face, from time to time, turned slightly to look at the handsome and imposing young man beside her, as if she didn't hear the noise and praise around her. In her eyes, there was only him. And the young man's eyes were also filled with undisguised admiration. Their auras, their essence, chi, and spirit, and the peerless charm of the two of them, didn't need to do anything to become a superior existence in the crowd. They didn't deliberately show that they were cranes in a flock of chickens, but the surrounding cultivators, 99% of them, unconsciously regarded themselves as chickens, and the two of them as cranes. Only one figure, who had caused an uproar just now, but at this moment, the attention was diverted, and he didn't notice it. The arrival of dozens of tyrannical divine thoughts made Chen Hao, who didn't deliberately and didn't notice any clues, naturally, hide his achievements and fame. He didn't want to keep a low profile, but he kept a low profile. So it's this girl? Oh. It should be Chen Lin, the disciple of the Knights Templars, who is more likely to be. Dozens of divine senses scanned the two of them and came to a conclusion. Even a Grand Mist Supremacy Realm expert wouldn't be able to lock onto a specific person. They could only sense the location of the golden scale transforming dragon and determine the general location of the person who triggered it. Then, they could guess which cultivator was most likely to be the one who triggered it. As for the entrance to the Alliance Center, where countless cultivators gathered, only East Flow City's #1 genius girl, Pan Donglu, and the Holy Temple's Earth Immortal Realm expert, teacher Chen Lin, who was ranked extremely high in the Holy Temple, were the most likely candidates. Moreover, Chen Lin was more likely to be one of them. There were around 1,000,000 Earth Immortal Realm cultivators from East Flow City that had obtained permission to enter the Primal Mystic Realm. This included those who had passed the allocated quota and those who had passed the Wandering Cultivator test. They formed a division, and Chen Lin was the division master that Holy Temple had appointed. What a powerful aura, the low-key. Chen Hao slowly walked up to the old man in charge of reporting. When the old man saw Chen Hao, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, and he couldn't help but praise him in his heart. He was young and at the peak of the early stage of the Earth Immortal Realm, but his aura was comparable to a genius-level master at the peak of the late stage of the Earth Immortal Realm. No matter where one went, this was a rare sight. Perhaps it could only be seen in vast universe Holy Temple. "Senior, I've come to report." Chen Hao cupped his fists and said. At this moment, the peak of the reporting period had passed. Of the hundreds of reporting points, half were empty. There was no need to line up at all. "Good. Please show me your test medallion." The old man sized up Chen Hao and said. "Test number, **************. You may receive an ordinary token. Name, Chen Hao. Asian Star Region, Limitless Star. It's actually just a small planet beneath the Asian star. Ah. 3 or 4 years ago, wasn't the Limitless Stars Chen Hao the first test result of the Asian star that shook the vast universe galaxy? Who? After the old man read Chen Hao's situation through his test token, he was a little surprised that Chen Hao only had an ordinary token. After all, with such an aura, even if it wasn't enough to become a captain of 10,000 people, it wouldn't be a problem for him to become a captain of 1,000 people. However, Chen Hao only had an ordinary token, which meant that he was just an ordinary soldier. But after seeing Chen Hao's real information, he immediately recalled the first test result that shook the vast universe galaxy 3 or 4 years ago. This caused the old man to look at Chen Hao with even more shock. In just 3 or 4 years, he broke through from the human immortal realm to the Earth Immortal Realm, and he also has such a powerful aura. This growth speed is too terrifying. "Senior, is there a problem?" Chen Hao couldn't help but ask when he saw the old man staring at him in a daze for a long time without responding. "No, no problem. Little friend Chen Hao, I really didn't expect that you would be able to come to our East Flow City to take the test. An ordinary token. You must have given up on your position token, right? Haha. Come, please drip a drop of blood essence." A person's name was like a tree's shadow. Although Chen Hao's strength couldn't compare to the old man's, his potential. If nothing unexpected happened, he was destined to be at the top of the vast universe galaxy. Therefore, the old man was much more polite and even took pride in Chen Hao's participation in the Primal Mystic Realm test in East Flow City. "Alright." Chen Hao smiled. He directly forced out a strand of blood essence and poured it into the token that the old man handed over. Immediately, the token, which was filled with a mysterious aura, turned into a stream of light that sank between Chen Hao's eyebrows. He didn't feel anything, but Chen Hao knew that the token had been integrated into his primordial spirit. At the same time, it would become an existence that witnessed his actions in the primal mystic realm. Someone at the peak of the early Earth Immortal Realm has such an aura. Just as Chen Hao was about to leave, 2 figures appeared behind him. At this time, they were distracted from the other party and noticed Chen Hao. They said with slight surprise, "You're right. Brother, how may I address you?" "I am Chen Lin, a disciple of the temple and a division master assigned to East Flow City." Chen Lin cupped his fists together. Although he seemed polite, the condescending tone in his words was obvious. Of course, he didn't realize this, but if it were anyone else, they wouldn't find it strange either. After all, this person was a disciple of the temple and was also the highest commander assigned to East Flow City for this primal mystic realm adventure. The reason he greeted Chen Hao was that he was surprised by Chen Hao's age, cultivation, and aura. Such a genius should be a disciple of the temple, but he didn't know him. Secondly, as the highest commander, he certainly had to get to know Chen Hao. After all, in his opinion, Chen Hao was definitely a captain of 10,000 soldiers. Pan Dong-lu didn't feel anything about Chen Lin's words. However, at this moment, Pan Dong-lu looked at Chen Hao and frowned slightly. She seemed to be thinking about something. If she had met Chen Hao before she met Chen Lin, she would definitely have said something, because she felt a familiar aura. It made her think of an unlikely person. But at this moment, she absolutely wouldn't say anything. Regardless of whether Chen Hao was that person or not, it no longer had any meaning. It was just like what that person had said to her with an aged voice, the person you are waiting for is a genius whose battle prowess and age are on par with yours, not me. And now, she had waited, and it was someone who exceeded her expectations in all aspects. At this time, how could she say that she was a young girl who had impulsively confessed in public because of the mysterious, powerful, and difficult to find? Geniuses were all arrogant, especially Chen Hao, whose bones were filled with an arrogant aura, was even more so. Therefore, people of the same kind were also sensitive. Others took it for granted, but Chen Hao could feel the other party's sense of superiority in front of him. Of course, he felt it, but he didn't think that Chen Hao would fight back. There was no need for that. After all, this was not tit for tat. And Chen Hao also knew the other party's intention. My name is Chen Hao, a lowly soldier. Chen Hao cupped his fists and returned the greeting with a smile. A soldier? Just by your aura and absolute strength, you can get the position of a captain. It seems that you took the initiative to give it up. But it doesn't matter. As long as you perform well, I will give you what you deserve. Thank you. Chen Hao said, neither servile nor overbearing. But in his heart, he was muttering about this guy's official airs. He took the initiative to give up being an official. Naturally, he wanted to be a lone ranger. Why would he join them in group activities? Ha! Brother Chen, sometimes, when the strength of a team is used, the gains obtained are definitely far greater than that of an individual. No matter how strong one's luck is, in a race against time, there is a limit to what one can obtain. You have to think about it carefully. Chen Lin seemed to have seen through Chen Hao's thoughts. When Chen Hao saluted and turned around, and at the same time, nodded politely to Fan Donglu and left, he reminded him again. When necessary, I will appear. Chen Hao said. His figure flashed, and he quickly rushed to the exit. But, Chen Hao, who had just rushed out of the door, suddenly came to a sudden stop. He almost fell to the ground. His eyes were wide open. He looked at the figure with his hands on his hips and his legs apart. He had a devilish smile on his face, and the same excited smile on his face. He slightly raised his good-looking chin and stared straight at him. Cough cough, humph. Ha ha ha, why are you here? Why can't I be here? Appointed captain. Captain. Aren't you looking down on me too much? I am the commander of an army of 100,000 men. You are a small soldier in 100,000 men squads or 1,100 men squads under my command. Why are you not bowing when you see this regiment commander? Hello, regiment commander. Goodbye, regiment commander. Although Chen Hao was very excited in his heart, he was speechless as he looked at the girl in front of him. He bowed and said very cooperatively. Ah. What are you doing? Wait for me, I haven't reported yet. Brother has booked a room in the Flowing Cloud restaurant and is waiting for you. Hiss. After Chen Hao finished speaking, he turned into a ray of light and left like lightning. Although he had decided not to hide anymore and return to his true self, he did not want to attract too much attention before he had even started. This girl did not care, but a small soldier traveling alone cared. How could such a big regiment commander hang around? What kind of scandal was that? Furthermore, if there was a necessary group activity and he was given too little, wouldn't it attract criticism? This girl obviously did not understand the way of being an official. Rogue. You didn't even wait for me for a while. Long Ting was so angry that she stomped her feet. A trace of shyness flashed across her face as she thought to herself. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.